right, it is. Let's go ahead and stand for a prayer and pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we come to you now. We pray for those in Las Vegas that are victims, and family, and friends, and involved in some way or another in this tragic shooting. We just pray for your calm and peace to surround that area, and that you just take care of these families that have been so negatively impacted. Lord, we pray for our meeting now and ask you to give us direction in planning our 2018 county health insurance. Thank you for this benefit for the county employees. We just pray that we will be diligent and prudent in how we design this plan. Thank you for the counsel of our friends from Higginbotham. We just turn the meeting now over to you. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, for the record, today is October 2nd, 2017. It's 9 a.m. We called a special meeting today for a workshop and probable decisions to be made regarding county health insurance, or more specifically, our partially self-funded health insurance plan. And we're meeting back after a brief meeting last week to zero in on final changes so that we'll be ready for open enrollment here at the end of this month. And we have back with us Higginbotham, Steve Capps, and Tony Melton. And I'll turn it over to you, Steve.
We'll turn it over to Tony. She's
Okay.
done great work for you.
Why don't you shift those mics to you? And
she has easy decisions, and then, well, I think most of them will be pretty easy decisions. So anyway, she's kind of got them in order of.
Yeah, let's do the easy stuff first.
Okay.
And I did make copies of this for you. I can give you copies of this, but when we left here last week, we asked Chris Kappinger to kind of do some analysis to see whether or not some of this would be worth it to you to do. Because you don't really want to have disruption if it's not going to create a positive impact. Agree?
sure.
Okay. So one of the things that she suggested first was doing the mandatory home mailer for prescription drugs, the mail order, you know, and we kind of had some back and forth as to whether or not this would impact your retail people. When she actually did the analysis of it, if you do the plan that she was suggesting you do, it is only going to save you $1,501 a year. I say that's not enough of a benefit to actually make people have to order all of their maintenance drugs through the mail order. What do y'all think?
That's hard to believe. Wow.
It is hard to believe. But she actually has 3 different options. Your first option is the easiest one, which is basically suggesting that they use mail order, and if they don't, then they can opt out. This is the plan that the fully insured groups have, okay? So like if you don't want to do mail order, then you say, no, I want to continue to do retail services at my local pharmacist. That is a savings of $1,501, and that's the one she was suggesting that you do. If you make it a little bit more stringent, so if the member doesn't want to move the prescription to mail, then an increased cost will be applied at an amount determined by y'all. You can save $4,000 if you do that, but the way to do that is to make that hurt a little bit, and I'm not sure if you want to do that. If you just basically exclude, if they don't move it to mail order, then you say, okay, I'm not paying for it, then you can save $8,000 with that. But the plan she was suggesting you do only saves $1,500.
And that was to force them to use mail order for their maintenance drugs, where
Right.
the ones where they're shipping for daily or twice
This
daily
is
or
only
weekly.
maintenance drugs. So these 3 scenarios are just for maintenance drugs only. I personally think that is disruption, that it's not going to save you a huge amount of money. There's more to be saved by moving to the premium PDL, and that actually disrupts fewer people.
Yeah, it's probably, if you think about it, they'll probably be generic anyway.
Exactly.
So they'll find a low cross road at the local pharmacy.
And that's
so
why
it's
she
not a
said,
high cost drug, and that's probably why there's only.
you have 87 participation on your bills anyway. And she said that because you've got such a high generic utilization, this is why the maintenance drug mail order was not helping you more than it was. But I say it's good information, and I suggest that you don't do it.
Here's my thoughts on it, and I did think about this, but I was assuming there'd be quite a bit better savings. I think this is an opportunity for us to stair-step in a cost-saving measure that will help us in the long run, and by initiating what she recommended there, forcing or...
They do have 3 months to come out of it. I mean, actually...
Well, I'm saying start with, let's require a maintenance drug be purchased online to get everyone established with
And I can tell you
Optum.
how it happens, because this actually impacted my husband when we moved their group to UHC this past summer. If you have a fill after the renewal, then you get a letter from UHC saying, hey, you filled a maintenance drug at your local pharmacy. You know, we have mail order and you can do this. And then if you do it again, then they send you another letter. If you do it the third time, the local pharmacist just won't fill it. And then they start calling us and they go, I can't get this filled. And even at that time, though, they can go on to the UHC online portal and say, no, I want to continue getting my medicine at the local pharmacy. Unless you go that next step and just say, they can't do it. But that's usually the first step. If you're going to do a first step, that's the first step plan.
Well,
Give them 3
if I
months.
can continue, my idea would be, here's an opportunity for us to begin a new way of doing things with mail order drugs. My ultimate goal is I maintain the same quality drugs for the employees, the same quality health care, but I'm trying to achieve some county savings. And after having been with Optum RX now for over a year, it's become second nature for me because I know how to do it. But I admit I wasn't real interested there for a couple of years, but now that I know how to do it, it's very easy, I enjoy it, and it may not be producing but $1,500, but if we can get everybody transitioned on maintenance drugs this first year, then all of us will understand better how to sign somebody up for Optum RX. We can help one another with buying either one-time prescriptions or maintenance drugs with Optum RX. And then perhaps next year and the next year and the next year, we complete a conversion, because I think somewhere I would hope it'll produce those better savings. And rather than trying to, have a knee-jerk reaction a year or 2 or 3 from now, we've got to do it, we've got everybody already with Optum RX accounts set up that need it.
Well, like I said, if somebody's adamant that they don't want to move it, they still, if you just go that first incremental step, they still have the option to opt out, unless you want to go to a more stringent plan.
And I can't imagine why you would bow your back and say, nope, I'm not going to do that. I don't know why that would be. But we've got to become a little more flexible at the individual level.
How much more out of pocket, on some of these prescriptions, is that going to be issued? Some employees say, I can't afford the 3 months. How much more expensive is it to get 3 more months at a time?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
She's saying-
Maybe sit up here and grab a mic, because
What she's saying is somebody having to pay 3 co-pays at one time instead of paying the 30-day amount, which is a lower amount. And also, too, that they can hook it up with a credit card. So that may be an issue for some.
I say that it be designed to where it's always going to be a cheaper option to go with the mail order than with buying from your local pharmacy. Whether it's comparing a 30-day with a 3-month, I don't want there to be a dime's worth of penalty if you go with mail order.
Well, I think what she's saying is because you have to pay it at one time, the 2.5
I understand, and I'd be willing to price that at a third of what 1 month locally would cost, so that you could come out with the same cost and get 3 times the medicine or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how I would design that.
And I'm not sure if that would negate your savings, if you actually...
Well, then forget what I just said. If we're pricing these drugs the way that we're pricing them right now, how hard of a hit could it be in a worst-case scenario? 150 versus 50?
And again, if you start on this first baby step, if they absolutely can't do that, they still have the option to buy it at the local thing, if you want to give them that option.
That's right. They still have the option, but it would be at a penalty.
If we were looking to see if some of our local people would actually match the RX pricing.
Well, that's not gonna.
The problem is not what the employee pays for it. They probably would, but it's what you don't see that costs the county. You know, what you plunk down there at the pharmacist might be $25 or $40 or $5, but it may cost the county, $150 down the street here, whereas that same drug could be $75 cost to the county if we were buying it from our bulk mail order sources.
Right.
So just because you think it's cheaper,
No,
or
that's
they're,
what I'm saying. No, I'm saying if we ever talk with some of our locals,
Well,
pharmacy to see if they would give just the same price. as what
But
we
the
do
problem
online.
is the local
Not us,
people-
but, I mean, the actual cost.
The local people are buying it from their distributors. This is a distributor. These people sell it to drugstores.
Oh, okay.
And that's what the judge is trying to say, that the
Okay.
discount going through Optum is literally, you're going to the of the pharmaceutical, and that's going to ultimately drive the cost down if you pursue this line. So, and basically, I mean, what you're saying is true. So if you want to start this baby step and do that, definitely. And generally, they're probably going to have a lower per month amount. They're just not going to be used to paying 3 of them or 2.5 times for everyone else.
okay.
In this first step, there's no penalty for them to continue to use the local pharmacy. Okay? They just have to go through
If
the-
we do that, then it doesn't get done. There's got to be a moderate penalty in there in order to get everybody during the calendar year
That's step 2,
2015.
right?
So if that's what you want to do, then we need to move to the next step. It says if the member doesn't move the prescription to mail, then an increased cost will be applied at an amount determined by the client.
That's what I'm personally in favor of.
Okay, that is a $4,003 savings annually. So, and they
The
still,
problem, what they recommend would be like an additional copay, or you'd have a separate list of different copays. If
so
they
instead of
go
getting
to-
that, because most of your maintenance is a generic drug, so I would just say maybe doubling the cost of the prescription if you choose to use,
the copay, yeah.
or you've got a $5 generic. I mean, how much, and you've got a $25 brand cost, a $50 non-preferred brand cost. Generally, though, the maintenance drugs are generally all going to be generic and preferred brand. So how much do you want to charge them if they refuse to use the mail order?
Well, here again, I'm subject to a possible choice by the employee at that pharmacy to go with a name brand when I know Optum would steer them towards a generic and hence some
Well, but
greater
you
savings.
also have a mandatory substitution on your plan, which your local people, if there's a generic available, should be substituted.
Y'all understand what I'm saying here, and here is what I consider to be a relatively painless way to begin some cost savings. And we know that drugs is where we're pretty far out of line with the norm. And we begin with baby steps and we work up each year, and hopefully 5 years from now we're saving thousands and thousands of dollars on prescriptions because we got everybody used to mail order for not only their maintenance drugs, but even the drugs that, that come along that are just one-time prescriptions. That's,
Do
again,
we
my
know
opinion.
how many people we have on maintenance drug?
That was in your information she gave you last week. You were going to say something, Mr. Rhodes?
To answer your question, yes and no, we might not have that right here, but that's how they calculated those savings, is they looked at the number of folks on their own maintenance drugs, kind of calculated, estimated what the potential savings would be if they make a mail order as opposed to buying the local pharmacy.
Can I make sure I understand it? I have, I'm not on the county here, but the Medicare, Medicaid, I get all my drugs, mail order, 90-day shipments, no copay. And if I want to get one in a hurry, which I have, I go to the pharmacy and I have to pay a copay, like $45 or something like that. Whereas if I get a mail order, is that what we're saying here? If there'll be a copay or something if you get.
Well, what we're talking about, what we're visiting about is there would be a difference in the copay whether you purchase it mail order or locally on maintenance drugs only. That's what we're talking about. That's just kind of what we're discussing this morning. So in other words, if you go mail order, you're going to have $5 plus 2.5 times for a 90-day supply. But if they elect to go locally, then it's the county's decision on what you want that copay to be. You know, if you want it instead of $5, make it $10, so there's incentive for them to, sign up for mail order, then that's, the county's,
Yeah.
whatever number you want. That number
Be a penalty of some kind.
Yeah.
Somebody's given a choice, well, I can sign up for Optum, I can get on the mail order, or I can go to my local pharmacist. If they choose the local pharmacist, then it costs them some more, hopefully to steer them towards mail order.
And the way the plan is set up, they can get 2 prescriptions. So like somebody's maybe just put on a new drug and they don't know whether or not they're going to be on it forever. So because you get 2 fills at the local, that allows them a little time to set up that mail order thing. So if it's something that their doctor's going to keep them on, sometimes your doctor tries you on things and then takes you off. Once they figure out what you're going to be on permanently, then they can set up the mail order. So,
I'm glad you told me because the people I run into, Judge, I was, here a while back, I was keeping all my people to the mail order, and I too was trying to do it. And I had a lot of trouble with getting mine. They kept saying put it in the system, Meriwether didn't have the system. Everybody else went through fast, and I'm still fighting that, so I had to try to file back to pull back now, see if I got ready, so I can do the order. And so that's a big case.
you need to let us know when you're having those issues so we can maybe help.
Okay, it doesn't, I thought maybe
Okay.
a little bit.
And as the number of people that are used to doing this grows, we can help one another. Yeah, I felt kind of alone there, and I had to get on the phone a few times with Optum to figure it out. Well, now I could sit down and I could show you, hey, here's how easy it is to do once you get it set up. But until that time, it is intimidating. But this is how we could force it to get started.
What they did is she got them to run this report and gave us the dollar amount, not the number of people that would be impacted on the mail order. But you have to think, if the amount of people that were using generics is so high, a lot of that's going to be maintenance drugs. So
A lot of that what now?
it's going to be maintenance drugs, the generic utilization or maintenance drugs, like blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications. And you did have, on the generic utilization, 87% in your second quarter. 87% of people were utilizing the generic drug.
That's good. We're making headway.
Yep. 'Cause
But-
I'm sorry.
What y'all did, I thought y'all did a much better job the last year or two encouraging people to go generic instead of the brand name. And I thought we did a better job explaining it to the people. And they understood, yes, we're gonna get this cheaper. And it saves us big time because instead of, if it's $100, you're paying $33.
Sure.
And your copay is $5. But I personally need to try to explain this as a way to go if you want to. But I don't think it should be mandatory.
Well,
Okay.
again, not mandatory, but penalized.
Well, it's,
So which one are you disagreeing with? If you have to pay more for a local fill on a maintenance drug, but you can still do it if you want to. If you just feel like it's real important that I go and support clinic pharmacy or Thurman's or whoever, yeah, you can do that, but you're going to pay a little bit more money. And if you want to save that money, you're going to get on the computer or the phone with Optum Rx. So that's not mandatory, it's incentivized.
I just have a big problem with taking away from our local people.
Well, then fine, you do it's called the mail service saver. You allow them to use that, but instead of it being a $5 generic cost, make it 10.
And you're charging me more for buying local.
It's the incentive to do.
It's your call, your choice.
20,
No, there are some people don't have the money to pay for 90 days.
Then do mail order.
That's what I'm saying. They don't have enough money to pay 3 months.
but it's only a
So with your
$5
current plan, that would be $12
for 3 months.
for a generic drug. 2.5 times.
If it's brand new, that's a different issue.
Exactly.
Generic,
Generic.
it's 2.5 times, it's a generic copay.
$12.50.
Yeah.
Again, a small cost we're asking for of the employees to achieve savings from somewhere. I mean, we've got to figure out some place to start some savings. I'm trying to start with the little impacts first. And if we continue to bow our backs and say we're not going to make any changes, your plan is going to be out of control. We're so much better than comparable plans that are out there.
Well, I personally feel like it needs to be a choice of the employees.
And I agree with you.
And I think the deductible should be at least $25 if they want to do it local instead of going through mail order. Not $5, not $12. I think it ought to be at least 25 or more. Mine's 40. And I go through mail order. And let me tell you about mail order. It's great. I get a call from them. You're going to have a prescription going to expire. And I said, well, I got to get another one. They said, we'll call the doctor for you. I mean, it's great.
It is.
It's the easiest thing I've ever done.
Very
I love
convenient. Very
So it's-
convenient. You save money. You don't drive to the store. It's right there in your mailbox. Okay, well, we'll come back to that. They've got that. That's item number 1. We'll come back to that, and we'll probably vote on these individually when it's time for action.
Okay. The one that is going to save you a significant amount of money was the premium PDL plan that Chris talked about last week. That is just basically those high-cost drugs that are impacting the plan so negatively. And the report she did run showed that one drug is being utilized by 12 people, and that is 75% of your total prescription fill.
Starting with a D, what was it?
Duexis.
Duexis.
You've had 17 prescriptions filled as of the end of August, I guess, middle of August, and it's $39,000, $2,300 of prescriptions.
What would the premium PDL do to
Okay, so first
produce
thing it
savings?
does is it reduces your admin costs by $41,000. Okay, because the rate is greater, it goes from $9 to $25. Okay, so right off the bat, $41,000. Okay, then all these folks that are taking this particular drug, instead of being able to get that one drug, they're going to be getting 2 drugs. It's going to do the same thing. Okay, so there's no impact health-wise on the employees. It's
What
just direct-
possible negative impact or argument could an employee have?
I gotta take 2 pills rather than 1.
I think this is a better drug because my doctor says so.
Yeah, well, then write a check. I mean, it's crazy what they're charging.
All of the drugs impacted by nickel, there's 14 people. 14 people that would be utilized.
Is
6
same doctor
people.
giving the drugs?
6 people are on that Duexis. Then there's 2 people on some kind of reaction, I don't even know, epinephrine. And then everybody else is just 11111. Epinephrine. But they've got other pens that are available. That's probably just a brand name one.
They're not going to exclude anything that is not a replacement cost, just because it's a high cost
You've
drug.
got to have something in every class of drugs. If you're going to exclude a particular brand, they've got to have an alternative in that class. Like, for example, the Novolog Flex pen is the kind that diabetes people utilize. There's other pens that are available that are cheaper than that one, and there's only one person doing that.
So here's the deal, for just that one drug. No, yeah, just that one drug. All right, if you continue on for 12 months allowing that, okay, you don't do the premium PDL, so you don't pocket the $41,000 right up front. That one drug costs you $120,000. $120,000.
Not a hard decision.
That's not, I mean, that's the easy one. We can put that one first.
Okay.
And anyone impacted, these 14 people will get a letter prior to the renewal of the plan telling them this is a change in your plan. Talk to your doctor and get a different drug in place before January 1st.
Okay. All right, good.
Is this drug an experimental drug?
No,
it's
they're
just a
all
very high
specialty
cost.
drugs that they're just, I mean, you know, my question is, can we do this now?
Now,
Can we make this, yeah, because it's gonna cost $40,000 between now and the end of the year to leave, let them continue.
there are certain timelines, and I don't know, I mean, we're already in October the 2nd.
Yeah,
I'm thinking you
2
have to
months.
allow them 60 days. I'm thinking you're just gonna have enough time now to get that notification out so that they can be effective by January 1. You can't just change something immediately. You can't do that. But
Yes.
if you make the decision now, then that gives UMR, UHC, November, December to start targeting these people, because they will start sending them letters and telling them, this is what's gonna happen, January 1, this is gonna happen.
And maybe some of them will change in the next 3 months. You know,
Exactly.
if all we got to do is send out 14 letters and say, this is a change coming, would you please, talk to your doctor about a
I've got the
substitute
actual people.
for
right
Duexis?
here. I'm not gonna name them, but I know the 14 people.
Is it the same doctor that's issued these
I have
drugs?
no idea about that.
Well, and it's not the doctor who's the bad guy.
Yeah.
He may think that this is the,
Doctors don't know how much
they don't know
stuff
what this
costs.
stuff costs.
They have no idea what it costs. Okay, so.
The other question on that,
Y'all, anything else?
That's good. Number 3.
Okay, the real appeal program that we had talked about, that we could integrate with the help of Higginbotham wellness coordinators, will actually save you a net savings of $8,470, and that is only assuming that we get 21 people to participate, 21 subscribers and 2 dependents. So that's a very minimal amount, so your savings could ultimately be much more. And this is the thing that you offer it to them. If they want to do it, they do it. It's totally nothing that you can mandate, but you'll be surprised how many people truly want to lose weight or to manage their diabetes. And they gave you some incidences. The pre-diabetes savings is $12,000 if those people actually kind of get involved in it. Obesity savings is $2,600, so the total savings of $14,998, and that is where that cost savings is estimated. That if people will take an active role in their wellness, maybe lose a little weight, it's going to impact so many different things. Heart disease,
and insurance.
Heart disease is 30% prevalent in most groups, and what?
And insurance.
The admin charges on that were about $6,500 to get to that savings of $8,417. But heart disease, diabetes, mental health, sometimes people, you don't think about mental health being affected by your weight, but sometimes people that are obese, it causes depression, that can be impacted as well. Sleep apnea is another thing that weight issue, the more overweight you are, the more prevalent you are to have sleep apnea and have to have the CPAP. And then the prediabetes savings. So those are the chronic conditions that they're targeting with this program. If you've got one of those chronic conditions, even if, and chances are, if you do have one of those, your BMI is going to be higher than most. But they look at BMI as well as people with these chronic conditions, and that's how they determine if you get your own personal coach that actually calls you every week, which is pretty amazing. So, and honestly, this is something that I would, if you decide to do this, I'd like to have one of our wellness consultants come and visit with you about, because everything with the wellness plan, it needs to be voluntary. I mean, you need to be very clear to say, we're offering this to you, you don't have to do it, but we think that it will be really helpful to you. And here's all the good stuff you'll get. You'll get the stuff in that box. So, but again, savings of $8,000 is pretty significant.
So how they come up with that number, just so you know, I mean, they look at your size group, in comparison to past experience, determine how many people they think will participate, which is they're estimating 23 people will participate out of your entire group. Okay? Then they use admin charges, apply admin charges to the 23 people. Then on average, the savings of each one of those conditions is so much, so that's $14,000. So your admin charges for 23 folks is about $6,500, and that is about $8,000 savings, which is going to come out of your claims cost. Okay, they're estimating that your claims will be about $14,000, well, that's if you implement the program. Although you're paying to have the service for those 23 folks, which is $60,000.
Are you paying on a per head, or do you pay a flat
That's a
fee
good
for the plan, or the more
There's
that?
a claim charge for every week that they're in the plan.
So if nobody signs up, there's no cost. If 50 people sign up, there's more cost, but of course.
Yeah, there's an initial assessment fee that's charged, and that's $1,889. And then if you've got 49 people that stay on track for their weekly sessions, that's $44,692. If you have less than that, obviously that's going to be less, but your return's going to be less than that as well. So that's why we like to have a program that's rolled in with the wellness consulting folks so that we advertise it, and we would want to advertise that in the meetings that we have with the folks so that we have time to kind of say, this is coming. They have a great little video, it makes it really easy to understand because it's short, it's like 2 minutes, and if we have that availability to show that little video, it makes people, say, okay, well, I can do that. That's pretty easy. And we're going to help them through it. So, again, I kind of feel like this is a no-brainer. It's nothing that you really have to do, and it's not going to be perceived as a punishment. It's going to be perceived as a help.
And your net cost can't be anything but positive.
Questions
Well,
about this?
if you can physically get your body in better shape, and you can do these different things, I'm very strong in that because it's just like Dr. Merriweather's situation.
Right.
A $75 test, you have blockage somewhere, and you don't even know you have it, and you get it corrected, that's going to be much cheaper than when you have a massive heart attack. So I think in the long run, it's going to really pay. Besides that, you're going to be a healthier person if you participate. I would encourage that. I think it's a good deal.
What was the name of that plan, Steve?
Real Appeal.
Real Appeal?
REAL Appeal. And you can Google that, say United Healthcare Real Appeal, and it'll pop up and you can see all sorts of interesting things about it. But they've had really good luck with it. It's been out there for about 2 years with the larger, fully insured groups, and then they rolled it out to small groups this year and to self-funded groups as well.
Who has done this? Who's doing this? Who's doing this now that y'all know?
I've got Custom Commodities and Gilbert doing it, and Ward Timber and Linden doing it. and they each have about 150 people. Trying to get, my husband's actually very healthy already, but I just want the new liquor, so I'm trying to get.
It's about that big real.
He didn't. Questions about that? Okay. The next thing on my list was, we had talked in the past about implementing in February the benefits in hand online enrollment service for Titus to help Sharon out and Christy with the ACA administration, as well as having a way to kind of keep up with people on enrollment. And this is the COBRA administration is actually a separate tool, but I would say that once you have benefits in hand, it would be prudent to move the COBRA services over to Higginbotham as well, and we can give you a savings compared to it is everything all together, your COBRA administration, that would be takeover, sending out notices, qualifying event administration, collecting premium and remitting that premium to carriers, and then reporting it to the different carriers up to 5 people, which that's not a problem, is $95.90 per month, okay? As compared to $183 if you stay with UMR. And with UMR, you go to the portal, right, and report on.
Just COBRA?
COBRA. How do you do that?
I go in, mainly.
And what I asked Chris when she was here, if it would be a problem moving that once we got the benefits in hand up and running, and she said no. So what I'm suggesting that you do is wait until the benefits in hand system is up and running so that it's a seamless process, so that when that takes place, he is also doing the COBRA administration for free on. Does that make sense? But this is a
$10
no-brainer.
a month or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not a big number, but
It's about $700 a year is savings on the COBRA administration. And that would just come out of the admin costs that UMR is currently billing you.
What's that called, just so I can put a line item
COBRA
here?
administration. Actually, you could put it online benefits enrollment system and COBRA administration to be implemented. Well, we can't start until February, but if we go ahead and say it's okay, then as soon as we get through quarter, we can start it. Questions on that? Okay. I played with some numbers for you and gave you some options for a single and a dual option on the health plan. I looked at this little sheet that y'all had done. When was this?
3 years ago.
And these were monthly rates, correct?
Yes.
Well, actually, you exceeded this last year, so what I did is show you what you're doing now currently. Okay, so the first column, 2 columns you see here are the 2017 rates and plans. You've got 2 different sets of numbers. You've got the semi-monthly enrollment payroll deduction, and then I went ahead and showed you the monthly amount. So what you're already doing is right here. Right? Y'all see that? So what I did is come up with a single plan, and basically I changed that single plan to $1,000 deductible, which is what the base plan is. Changed your out-of-pocket, made it a little bit less, kept the family the same, basically kept everything. I kept everything the same, other than your out-of-pocket is a little bit less on that plan as well. Down at the monthly, well, actually, let's look at paycheck deductions. I kept the spouse and the family the same. Actually, I lowered the kids.
And the premiums are bi-weekly based on a 24-month period instead of 26.
Okay,
So
so
there should be the same.
yeah, it's the same.
I just
She's
got
the-
it.
Okay, I said 26, so it's 24, okay.
It only,
Yes, sir.
it shows on the employee plus family, the drop is 200.
On the base plan.
They got her on the monthly, they're running 433. Right here, what is that, that's what you use here, right here.
Because I thought you had 26 pay periods, it really should be 400.
Okay, so that's,
It should be 400. I factored, I thought you had 26 pay periods and sure you said you had 24.
It's bi-weekly, but there's twice a month.
So it would go up, okay, that's monthly, so it would go up $75 roughly per month. Is that right? So not 75 per paycheck.
Okay, actually, the numbers,
325 to 403, so.
oh, yeah.
325, that's supposed to be 400, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And everybody with dependents is on the buy plan, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right.
We got two couple that are on
So about really changing, actually, it would be lowering the premium
For the
spouse
children.
and children and staying the same for the
Yeah,
spouse.
there'd be no
and children.
change on the spouse of the family if you implement that single plan option. Y'all see that? And
Where is spouse and family?
employee plus spouse, you see that? Employee plus family. It says it right over here.
Yeah, but is there a full family deal?
Yeah, that's the
Employee
employee
plus
family.
family.
Oh,
That's
that
spouse and
includes,
kids.
that includes spouse.
That's everybody. And again, I mean, these numbers would work, just know that it's not changing. If they're on the buy-up, then they're paying the same price for that single option plan.
Well, here's what I immediately see. I don't believe this court's gonna want to pass on that much increase for those that are on the base plan.
Okay, then look at the other plan.
Okay,
You've
so
got a
here's
dual
the
option.
deal, though, there's almost no dependents on the buy. They all your dependents, they're already paying, they're already doing the buy plan.
Say that one more
Okay, so
time.
all of your dependents, or practically all of your dependents are on the buy plan. They're already paying those higher premiums. Huh?
Dependents base.
They're on the base.
Oh, the base, okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay.
The employees
Okay.
are on the buy-up
The
plan
buy-up.
because there's no
The
difference in the
premium.
rate.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, then
So
look
you're
at,
correct.
then look at the dual option I did. And I basically made the deductible a little higher, it's $1,250 if you're on the base plan. It makes your deductible, that's 3 times that, is for even the family. I lowered co-insurance to 70% and raised the office visit to 45, but left the premiums exactly the same as what they are now on the base plan. I'm just making you have a difference between the base and the buy-up. The buy-up is exactly what the buy-up is now, no difference. But it's making your employees pay $25,
For buy.
and that should be, yeah, that 25 that should be 50 a month. But
Oh.
$25 a check to have an $850 deductible.
Tell us again, who's on base and buy-up now?
Buy-up is basically your employees.
Employee-only coverage, because it costs them no difference. I'll take better coverage for the same amount, sign me up.
It's our pocket.
And what percentage of our employees have employee-only?
We got
3/4?
some numbers the other day.
Yeah.
base plan. So that's pretty much it.
And anybody that chooses the base plan is gonna have at least a spouse or children or both.
We actually have a couple that are not, but basically everybody else is, and I haven't got a good explanation of each one. Did on that plan, so that's what they're on.
But the dual option, I mean, I was just trying to, and throwing out some stuff just to make it be where that plan is different, and because it's very confusing for Sharon to explain to people why you have two plans when there's really no difference in the plans.
Well, and that resulted because in the last seconds of last year, we voted, no, can't do that. Make them so close you can hardly distinguish them because we weren't willing to charge the employee more for what they were already getting.
And my other thought to that is if you want to keep the two plans you have with the rates, just make your employee pay something to have the buyout plan and maybe make that base plan a higher copay. Make it go to $35. Have it be a difference between, and maybe lower the buyout plan copay to $20. But just make your employee pay something to have a better plan. That's the whole premise of having two plans. And you don't have to do $25. You can invent a number. I just pull that one out of the air.
I think the most people that I've heard talk about using teledoc have been on the base plan where it can cost them money.
And you could make that be free for everybody. That's really, I think, a great idea.
I got some people who use it, they love it.
They love it, see?
Yeah.
Once you start, I did it for the first time a month ago, and I had not done it before, but it's so easy.
Well, they say, no copay for the doctor, you just call in, you're sick, they just send a box, boom, you go get it, you're done.
So that's a great idea. Have that be free for everybody, and I think that is a plus, especially if you get people talking about it.
Yep.
Because that's why I did it. Somebody said, why don't you call in on Saturday and see if they'll call you in a prescription, and they did.
And one thing good about the teledoc, they say that when they call, within 15 minutes or less, a doctor will call you back.
Right.
They say they're pretty accurate at it, so, well, my people love it.
And if you need to call back, they can pull up your records and they can see what you called before, and they go, hey, this didn't work, or I feel worse, they go, well, you may need to go to the emergency room. They don't try to medicate you if there's something that they can't do. But that's a great idea. Make that be a zero copay for everybody, and that might help utilization on the plan.
So I think the first question for each of you is, do you want to have a single option plan that is going to cost those with employee-only coverage? It's not going to cost them more because you're still going to provide them with no-cost employee-only insurance, but your, let's see, where's the, who does it cost more on this new single option plan?
It's going to cost
Those
the
with
spouse, the employee spouse,
those
the
with
employee
those with
children.
dependents.
Yeah. Those numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what they're currently paying now for buyout.
Or do you want to stick with a dual option plan where an employee who's only interested in monthly, cheap as I can possibly get it, they stick with a base plan, knowing that, you know, if and when they get sick, they've got a higher deductible, they've got a higher office visit copay. Or do they want to pay a little bit more each month, knowing that if and when they get sick, they do have that lower deductible. You pay for it on a regular payroll withdrawal, or you pay it at the doctor's office when you actually need the benefits. But we know that where we're behind is in dependent coverage. What we're charging that employee for wife, kids, or both, we're way behind the curve. Sheriff, you got any opinion on that? I'm just curious. You listen to a lot of employee comments on this. Where I see that we're behind and we've got to do some catching up is with our dependent coverage. For the guys and girls that are covering only themselves, it's a little easier to manage. But those that add on a spouse or kids or both, we're not charging them nearly enough for that kind of quality coverage for those dependents. So would they rather, for those that have dependent coverage, would they rather pay more each paycheck to have a plan with better benefits if and when they got sick? Or would they rather have a lower monthly out of their paycheck cost, knowing that when they go to that doctor, they've now got a higher deductible, they now have a higher office visit, things like that?
You know, me personally, I think that, and I've never asked them, but me personally, I think that the fair thing to do is to charge them the ones that use it, make them pay a little more. I mean, because you got some that really watch it and won't go to the doctor with the family, and I hate to charge them more money a month when they are careful and don't go every time the kid gets a sniffle and use a Teladoc stuff. I had several tell me the other day, or actually one of my associates said he used one of his kids, and he said it was wonderful to go to the doctor, the bill, visit. So I'd rather just go up on the deductibles a little bit.
Let the costs be borne by the ones that are actually going to the doctor and using it. I would agree. That seems to be the fairer way to me.
So I think based upon what the sheriff said, just if you just narc out the $40 copay on whatever plan and have Teladoc be free and start implementing more education services about that, then that's going to be perceived as a really big plus.
Say that again. Say that again.
Take the Teladoc copay away from both plans, or even from the single option plan, have that be zero.
I don't know how the Teladoc could help us save money.
It does save money. That's
I'm gonna start using out there, usually for us, we're hardly ever sick.
Yeah.
We don't have to have anything.
Well, I was taking the kids to the doctor, they fly and come back with something else.
But the good thing about Teladoc, this is kind of, I was power washing the pool and I blew the skin off my big toe. Okay, that's why I use Teladoc. And I didn't go to the doctor and it got infected and I went like 2 weeks and I looked down and thought, that doesn't look very good. So I took a picture of my big toe and I sent it to them and they called me and they sent me in some antibiotic cream and within a week my toe's fine. So that's a great example of something I really felt stupid going to the doctor saying I blew the skin off my big toe. But that's what's it worked. I mean, I would have paid, $100.
And if you'd done it Saturday morning, you'd have been 2 days faster getting your treatment.
Yeah, I did it actually on Saturday morning when I finally called. I'd gone 2 weeks, so it was really headed to be bad. But anyway, but it's just a great program, and that would be, I think, perceived as a plus. Again, if you get your folks talking about it like that. So.
We know that the majority of our employees don't hit the deductible during the year. Isn't that what we learned last year?
Well, only, I think maybe, of your high users, I mean, you only had 5 people that were even remotely close.
Well, it seems like it was a figure of like 20 out of all of our enrolled.
Exactly.
That
Well,
ever
when I'm
even
saying
did
you had
deductible.
5 people over 20,000, everybody else was below that. So you think about that. And that's why $1,250 is not a very large deductible. It's really not. I mean, if you don't have to keep it $45, if you think that's too much, you can change it to be $35. I just wanted a little bit of a difference between those two plans. This is a discussion, so what do y'all, Sheriff, what do you think as a co-pay? What would they feel comfortable if they're on the, if you did two plans and you're on the base plan, what does somebody, $35 is kind of the normal co-pay, it's going to be $45 on most individual plans.
I mean, they're, you know, it's unreasonable because we're going to charge someone to choose it. And I'm all for it when the co-pays a little bit, but leaving our monthly payments the same. That way people can see their pay increases that they got. And they use teledoctor, save that money for one doctor. The only time you can't use a teledoctor, like you have a kid 6 months old that can't tell you what's wrong.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go about it.
Right.
As soon as they get a little, say, yeah, mama, my ears hurting, and they get a little bigger, you tell them about that. And because you know the doctor and everything, well, when you give shots anyway, they're like, well, we're gonna give you antibiotic and let it run its course. So why go get them all that money for the to that when a doctor on the phone can do the same thing? But I'm not against going up, just leaving the monthly payments the same on that. And that way the people that don't use it, they can see their increase.
Okay, so what he's saying, then the dual option plan, you would think would be, because the people that chose to be on the base plan would still have zero cost for an employee only, but their rates would be exactly the same if they had family people covered,
Oh, yeah.
right? And somebody that truly wanted a better plan, an $850 deductible, a $25 copay, letting them have a zero teledoc would pay a little bit more.
Where else are you going to derive savings? Does co-insurance changes?
Health insurance changes a
Help
little
much?
A
bit.
little bit.
They're really not that much because they still have the family out-of-pocket maximum for the ones that really get,
Just takes a
for that
little while to
handful of
get there.
people that get really sick, surgeries, cancers, et cetera.
Right.
You know, that 70%, going from 80% to 70% doesn't, you know, sounds bad, but it's only a handful of people that that's going to affect. And even those that are affected, they're capped at that family maximum.
And understand, they're paying, if you do accept the $45 copay, that is applying toward your out-of-pocket. That additional charge goes towards your out-of-pocket maximum. But I didn't change the out-of-pockets, that's what you have currently, that's exactly what you have now.
Which is split.
Yeah.
I don't think that needs to go up.
No.
Anybody have a question or a comment on this, so we kind of know what we're thinking?
You got so much information out there, you got me all confused. What's copay and this and that?
Basically, the costs do not, if you're doing this buy-up plan here, the costs are exactly the same, except for I'm saying that you make your employees pay $25 a day to have the better plan. So,
Their option to buy the better plan. With no cost.
$25 copay, are you talking?
No, some of the premium. Okay, in other words, let's say that if you, the employee, you want to buy the base plan, it's $1,200 deductible, $45 office copay, everything else is the same, no premium to you. Okay, you have that option. That's option one. Option two is an $850 deductible, $25 office copay, and you pay $50 a month for that, $25 base. So
You're talking about the employee?
the employee, yes. If they want to buy it from the county's going to pay 100% employee only on that base plan, no cost to the employee. But if they want to buy down their deductible from $1,250 to $850, then they pay $25 base to do that.
but you still have the base plan that's covering all of the employee-only costs, and that's what, if somebody's okay with that, then you're gonna cover all of their costs.
So it would cost an employee only on by $14.50 out of pocket to the deductible at the $25 donation for the
talking about the base plan.
Buyout plan, you got the $850 deductible, 25 for a paycheck, would be another $600 out of pocket. So that's $1,450 deductible and premium. So the base $1,250 deductible and nothing for. But still go back to the individual's decision as to what they want to do.
But it's showing a difference in the two plans. And if you don't do that, then I personally think you need to just have one plan.
Who gets hurt in the single option plan? I'm not sure that's the right way to phrase it.
Well,
Because of what you charge your dependents.
everyone who's covered dependents goes up a little bit
Yep.
if you're on the base plan, and that's where all the dependents are according to insurance. But if you actually made that child rate halfway between the base and the buyout now, it's going to split the difference. You can see, drop that to 200 instead of 250 if you're on the buyout. It was 150, so I only made that 200. Because a lot of times people have to cover children through a court order, and that's maybe a little bit hard for a single parent. So.
But the plans are covered for kids anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Most of them. But Mike, to answer your question, we've never seen a base plan where the employee can pick and not make anything. Doesn't make sense, to be perfectly honest with you, okay? You choose what you want to do as a county for the employee, and if they want to buy a little better, then they can buy a little better. Instead of buying Volkswagen, they can, buy it to Chevrolet or whatever, so. The question is, Mike, in your mind, is the base plan good enough for the employees, okay? If you got to get satisfied with that, then you don't worry about the buyout.
The base plan, we're not looking at just very few people.
Well, everybody with dependents, 40 some odd votes, right? So if you got 40 some odd votes on the base plan,
Yes.
and 80 some odd votes on the.
So right now, they already have a $1,000 deductible. That's where all the people are. I'm projecting it only go up $250 on deductible, but really deductible only applies if you're in the hospital, if you have an outpatient procedure done. The biggest thing is going to be probably the doctor's office copay, which I said make $45. But if you want to make that be $35, you can do it, and it's only a $10 increase on the office copay. And that is keeping those rates exactly the same as what they have now, which is what the sheriff said that most of his people would probably appreciate. Right?
Yeah, I'd just like to see if we ever keep the rates sure that we've got.
And have the option to have a really good plan, because your base plan, that is still a really good plan.
Yep.
But if you want an even better plan, you pay a little bit more.
Okay, on this, the new basic plan, what are we looking at in network and out of network? 1,250 and then 3,000?
That should be one of the least of your concerns.
Well, I understand, but I want to go down it, and what are we looking at changing?
Okay, you're out of network,
Just
out
what's
of,
in yellow?
what's in yellow I changed. Everything else is the same.
Okay,
So went up $250 on the individual in-network deductible, and I raised the family $750. All I did is $1,250 times 3. I took co-insurance down to 70% instead of 80%, but I kept the out-of-pocket the same. The out-of-pocket has been $65.50. I kept it $65.50. That didn't change. And the office copay, I made it $45. But again, you could make that $30, $45. You could make it $37.50 if you wanted to. You can invent your own number. I just wanted it to be a little different than the 25, because I kept the base plan, the buyout plan exactly the same as what you have now.
Our base plan out of network, okay, is supposed to be 60.
Do what now?
The out network, which is not, those are 64.
So the office visit, you talking about?
So, yes.
Oh, okay, I had a typo on the base plan, it should be 60%, sorry. Out of network, 60% after deductible.
Okay.
Basically, anything out of network is a 60% co-insurance.
Where's the typo in the dual plan?
The new base plan, the office visit, it says on the sheet 50% after deductible, it should be 60% after deductible. But Mike, if you think about it, that's a pretty good trade-off. You're not gonna go up on the premium. You just, we're not suggesting you go up on the dependent premium any, but just a little bit on the deductible. That's a pretty good trade-off. If you want to leave the dual option, your call.
Anything you've got a question about, guys, good time to ask you.
Is there a place on here like the total premium for the new base plan?
At the bottom,
You say total, do you mean for the year or something?
I see it, yeah. Okay.
And Tony, was you pricing that on 26 also?
the monthly rates are based, I thought you were on 26 pay periods, Sharon said you're 24, so really it's going to be less than that, yeah.
We do have 26, but twice a month when we have 3 pay
Oh,
periods,
that's
it's
right.
not taken out.
Okay.
I don't think that was my stuff.
Maybe that's why I didn't tell you.
You already wrote.
Okay. Because I pulled up the last booklet, and I said, okay, there's some other.
Well, it's several more. Nobody else has to say 3 or 3%.
Yeah.
Really, the only thing you're changing from this 2018 rate plans, from 2017 to 2018, you're going up a little bit on the employee family.
On the deductible,
Do what?
just, on the base plan, the rates are exactly the same as what the base plan rates are now.
I'm talking about
The deductible goes up.
that's in network. What are you looking at going at, the deductible?
From 1,000 to 1,250. Just that's in yellow, one thing, sorry about changing.
You're looking at going up from 850 to 1250?
No, 1,000 to 1,250.
If you're on the base plan now, you've got $1,000 deductible. The current 2017 base plan is $1,000, and it says new base plan, because I just copied and pasted from the booklet, but your current base plan has $1,000 deductible.
You're on to take that to 1250.
I have
That's
to
what
show
we're
it.
suggesting, yes, just an option.
As an employee only on my policy, if you went to the dual plan, I would come off the
So Sharon, you're proposing.
You're fine if you
to just
stay
keep
healthy.
the base plan only.
Shoot a bunch of sick kids.
It take away the building on, raise it up high, but take away the building on, and use that single plan. This way.
So what Sharon's suggesting is that you look at the 2018, so the far right, and just instead of having a dual option, have one plan with that 1250 deductible, right?
That's.
Oh, it is.
Then you have to say which with the difference.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you have to do that. But if you go to the option, I'll remove myself from the bottom and go to the base.
Which the majority of everybody will, because
If you don't normally get your deductible, get your deductible, maybe a factor.
Say that again, Sharon, please. What you just said, would you say that again?
Yes, if we went with these dual option plans again this year, I would come off the diet plan because I'm employee only. That's gonna cost me $1,450 out of my pocket, whether if I don't meet my deductible. So I could go to the base plan, not have a premium, and chance having a $1,250 deductible. I don't normally meet my deductible. So I would take that chance.
It's not much more than $50.
Too many options.
Y'all want to move on, discuss, question, what would you like to do?
Bunch of this stuff I need to understand better.
Have options.
Well, that's why we're here. You've got everybody that can possibly answer one of these questions.
You give us too many options, Tony.
and I try to make it really easy.
That's right.
Well, I mean, we can go down it line by line. We can talk about deductible, then we can talk about annual out-of-pocket, we can talk about co-insurance. Where would you like to start?
Can I make the suggestion that y'all decide if you want to do a dual plan or a single plan? And then, once you have that nailed down, it'll make I think, your process a little easier.
I personally like a dual plan because there are certain people, 98% of our employees are trying to conserve their monthly income.
Right.
We need to have a plan that honors that to the best of our ability. And these are the people, and we know that it's the majority of the employees that really don't cost the county very much in the way of health insurance costs. And those people should be rewarded with continued zero cost for employee coverage and nominal cost to cover their dependents. Those that, for whatever reason, believe because of past experience or they just are nervous and they want to protect their maximum out-of-pocket costs when somebody gets sick in their family, they're the ones that might like to have a buy-up plan and say, I'll pay a little bit more out of each of my paychecks. When that bad day comes along, I don't want it to wipe me out. That said, the current dual plan is not accomplishing our objective because we've watered down the differences so much that it's difficult for someone to make a decision, and the county's the net loser. We've got to have a higher cost on a buy-up plan than we have now. There has to be more difference between the two.
Brad, to be honest with you, I agree with you. I mean, I think Tony did a real good job with the dual option. It gives the business, that they choose that base plan, they're not going to be a premium increase if that's what you decide. That's kind of what we're suggesting. There's no premium increase for most of your dependents that are on the plan right now. The only thing they're gonna be looking at is a little higher deductible, a little higher copay. And that's a pretty good swap.
Now, it probably won't cost them very much.
Yeah,
because we know the odds are.
Portion of those that are on the plan that are gonna have, more than $1,000. If they do, it's only $250 more what they were paying, or what they would have been out of pocket, so, I mean,
Per year.
yeah, per year. And so, I agree with you, and I also believe that the employee needs to pay some kind of premium to be on the buy plan. I mean, you have to.
Absolutely. Like I said, there's got to be a difference. We want to incentivize them to stay on the base plan.
Right.
It would be.
I mean, you have to do away with the debt. It's a buy-up plan. In other words, you have to pay a premium to go to the better plan, which makes sense.
Generally, when you're doing an enrollment and you're offering a dual option, the people that know they have an issue are going to be the ones that choose the better plan. And in some ways, that makes sense because they're the ones that are costing the county more money. So it makes
Not
sense that they
necessarily.
pay a little bit.
Not necessarily.
Because
Why do you say that?
Well, Judge, I've been paying in for 31 years, and I use it very minimum of anything.
You missed the point she was saying.
No, I understand what she's saying.
No, she's talking about a buy-up plan for those that know they tend towards having health problems and utilizing the health insurance is the point she's trying to make. Not for the average guy like you. You're the poster child for the base plan.
Sicker folks are gonna buy the better plan because the out-of-pocket's gonna be less, and they're gonna pay a little more premium, but the total out-of-pocket's gonna be less.
And if you were a fully insured plan offering a multi-option, insurance companies know that people will pick the better plan if they have medical issues. It's called adverse selection. And because of that, the companies add 2 and 3 and 4% to everybody's rates to offer a dual option. Okay? Y'all are offering a dual option and it's the same price. Which is like, you can have, Steve said, you can have a Volkswagen, you can have a Cadillac, and they're both free. Pick one. What you gonna do? You gonna pick a Cadillac.
Can we just go down the road here? Would you like more information, or do you feel like you've got enough information to make a decision? We're not making a decision right now. We'll come back to that in item number 2.
I have an opinion. I would like to put the premium on the higher, put a significant premium so that the rest of the people wouldn't have to pay it on the higher dual option.
The buy-up plan, so you
The
would
buy-up.
favor a buy-up plan and a base plan?
Right,
Okay.
and take the buy-up plan, I'm talking about like $100, make it significant, not another $10 or $5. Because they're the one that's going to use it, as the sheriff says.
All right, well, let's break it down into just dual and single option plan. Mike, do you have an opinion on having a single option plan for all the entire county or a dual option plan?
If you have a dual option plan, somebody was talking about, or brought up that the employee's gonna pay a premium, is that what I'm hearing?
If they
Zero
want
on
the
the
buy-up
base.
plan,
Do,
0 on the base, and then some additional premium if they want the lower deductible.
well, I'm not for any premium on the buy plan, on that.
Then you just want one
You pay.
plan.
Yeah.
You just want one plan?
There's no sense in having 2 plans if you don't want to charge.
I guess I'm single plan then.
Okay.
Dana, what do you think?
I like the dual plan, that way they have an option. Like you said.
Jimmy?
I agree with that. I think the dual plan is the thing, but I think we have got to separate it, and I think that's where the mistake was made last year, was putting them so close together.
Well, if you'll recall, I don't know that it was a mistake. I think we just ran out of gas at the end of last year and felt the pressure of dumping a heavy load on our employees, not really realizing that most of them would have probably opted for the base plan. But when we caved on that additional premium for the buy-up plan, we sent all of our employees over there to the better plan, and we ended up benefiting nothing. That's what happened literally in the last 5 minutes of this discussion last year.
I agree.
And I'm gonna say something that's not make it really easy. Y'all can keep the exact same 2 plans you have right now, just make your employees pay something for the buy-up. How about that idea? No?
We've got to make a little headway each year. That's the only reason that I say no. Because the day is going to come when, if nothing else, the faces on this court are going to change, and you're going to have 3 guys that all of a sudden decide, oh my gosh, look how far behind we are, and they're going to whop on a change there that's going to knock the socks off of half the employees in this county. And if we don't achieve some escalation in cost to the employee or a reduction in benefits to the county, that D-Day is coming. And so I continue to encourage that we chip away at this a little each year and try to stay at least even with the curve. But we're not doing that. We're losing ground each year, and the proof is right there in those numbers. That's why it's costing us more every year. And I don't want to sound like the mean old guy that wants to make the employees be the ones to suffer. That's not the point. But I'm trying to use common sense here, and I see businesses and municipalities all around me, because I talk to them on a regular basis, that are making these hard decisions each year, and we're sitting here doing nothing.
Hey, Judge, it's just the base plan over here, is that what she's got here? Is that actually pretty good? Chip away a little bit, would that make a difference?
Well, what the base plan is doing, if you'll look there, number one, it achieves 0 cost to the employee. And that's 2/3 of our employees are employee-only coverage with 0 cost to their family. Because they're only covering themselves, and the county's not asking them for anything. I don't propose a change there.
Like when we did away with this buy plan, just in the base, does that help the county and hold the deductible a little bit?
It'll have minimal impact, but I'm more interested not in trying to squeeze that group of employees. That group of employees we know are the ones that don't really cost the plan very much money each year. And therefore, they should continue to receive the benefit of 0 cost with reasonable deductibles, etc. It's these dependents and kids and spouses and less healthy employees that are the burden on the plan. And they know who they are usually, not necessarily always, but we can't keep providing these Cadillac benefits to them at no cost. We're so far behind on dependent and child coverage, hundreds of dollars a month, if not thousands.
I suggest this then, because right now, if you got employee plus family, it's all one big price. Why can't we just make it, if you need to go up on that, make it to where the fewer kids you got, the cheaper it is, and the more kids you got, then it's charged reversed instead of, because it is.
But y'all used to have that, but truthfully, your children are over your place also. So we went to child and children rate, and it has almost 0 cost difference.
Yeah, that's right. It's the spouse.
You want to go up.
The spouse.
Yes, it's your more mature people.
What'd you say?
More mature.
More mature people.
Talking about
Where your claims happen.
we've got a mature employee base. Our employee base, due to low turnover, continues, the median age goes up each year, I would think. What, Sharon? That's the median age?
Which is, I mean, the plan of your benefit program is to keep those folks. I mean, you want them, I mean, you hire young folks to come in too, but, I mean, retraining young people all the time is expensive too. So, I mean, that's the whole idea, is you want to keep your good people and you want them retired. I mean, I know I want my folks retired from my office. You know, yeah, I know it's going to make my health insurance a little higher, yeah, but that's a lot cheaper than retraining new
And
people.
remember, they still have a wellness benefit that's free. I didn't list it here, but everyone's got one free, either wellness visit or a routine physical that's no cost. So by raising the $45 copay would be for sick visits only. And again, if you've got the zero teledot, that kind of offers them an option to stay home and just pick up the phone.
So Sheriff, back to your question, is it a pretty good plan? I'll tell you why I think it's a pretty good plan. Again, the zero cost. The annual deductible goes up from $1,000 to $1,250. We know that only roughly 20 of our entire group of employees ever hit their deductible. So that should be a negligible effect to the vast majority, 80% or higher of all of our employees. Same with the family total deductible. A small percentage are hitting that deductible, so you're not going to impact them. We're talking about an office visit, maybe going from 25 to 45. You know, what's that going to cost the average employee over the year? Say they go to the doctor 4 times, so it costs them $80 for a year. Those are and then you have a co-insurance proposed change going from 80% to 70%. That means after the deductible is met, the employee bears 70%, and the 30%, and the county bears 70%. Well, here again, you're talking about a very small group of people, because we know most of them never even hit the deductible, much less having a big impact from that co-insurance change.
And again, that only applies to inpatient stays, outpatient procedures, not in the doctor's office.
So that's why I think it's good. Is it true for everybody? No. There's going to be a couple of handfuls of employees that are going to see some slight negative impact of this.
I guess what you're saying, what's driving the cost of the most is just that there's a handful of employees that do have like cancer or some illness that cost.
And I don't know that any of these changes here are going to change that. The ones that are really the burden on the plan, there's not a design change we can make that's going to change that, other than making everybody get physicals and trying to identify these problems before they happen. People don't see cancer coming. You know, we're not going to rule out, you know, we're not going to cover cancer, and we're not going to cover major surgeries. You know, we can't make changes like that.
And just to kind of put things a little bit in perspective, okay, I know we're kind of in a little bubble here, okay, but out there, our December renewals are averaging between 25 and
65.
Yeah, 65 is an outlier. Mostly the average is between 25 to 29%.
Explain to us what you mean there.
Average rate increase is
Non-Titus County, you're talking
That's
about your other customers
25
that are on fully funded insurance?
That's correct. Okay, 25 to 29%. Most of our groups are having to, if they pass the dependent cost along to the dependent increase goes to the employee most of the time, and they're sometimes making benefit changes to lessen that from 25 to maybe 18 or something like that. But so they're making significant benefit changes, but still having increased premium. And
And I would say that the deductible plan that I sell the most and what people are going the most are anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 deductible.
I was with friends and family over the weekend for a shower, and my brother-in-law's retiring, and for some reason, he brought up health insurance, and then his daughter chimes in, and my son chimes in. Nobody in that group had less than a $5,000 deductible in their plan. And when they told me what it was costing to cover their wife and kids, $1,400 a month, $2,500 a month for one of them. I mean, that staggered me.
It's getting to the point, it's like, how are people going to continue to afford it? But, I mean, so the point is, we live in a little bit of a bubble, but we've been very fortunate. I mean, the county's been very, very fortunate not to be forced into those kind of things. And I think all of these kind of discussions, I mean, you can be fully insured, just send the check in, okay? But being partially self-funded, you're able to manage this a little bit better. And the reason you're not having to pay those kind of premiums is because we've done I think a pretty good job of trying to manage those things, and, so, and that's part of it, I believe. The fact that you're partially self-funded allows you to actively manage your program, and you're able to go in, like this drug thing. I mean, that's a huge thing, and we're talking over a 12-month period, $160,000 possible. 41 right off the bat. Okay, and then maybe 120 or more over a 12-month period just on the folks that are taking the drugs or taking that. So being able to actively manage that stuff is, that's a great benefit, and that's one of the reasons that your premiums are as low as they are. So
Because we self-insured.
because you're partly
And we're not having to pay insurance companies 20, 30, 40%.
So
Local small business here. I was with this couple. She's part of a small family business that has about 30 employees. They split 50-50 their coverage with their employees, just for employee coverage. And it was costing the employees $800 a month. That was their half. Relatively small group, but $800 to the employer, $800 a month to the employee, just to provide insurance on that small family business.
What they need to do is get together with 4 or 5 family business and pool and go together.
like they need to talk to us, is what it sounds
Don't have to
like.
pay all those high prices.
To quote her, we've tried everything we know to try. And it just keeps we just keep seeing these annual increases going up and up and up, and it's choking us, and it's choking our employees.
And then you still got hospitals going up in this, which is, it's just crazy. But anyway.
Well, also, the good thing about y'all can go in and negotiate with these different hospitals, the different doctors, and get the prices down, where a lot of people don't have it. When you take these individual policies, or you do this or do that, they don't go in there and negotiate that.
Well, most of the individual policies now, and even the small group, they're with a Blue Cross or a United Healthcare. They get the same pricing advantage that you have here. United Healthcare is huge, Blue Cross is huge, all of those are. That's not the issue. The issue is you can be sick and go buy a policy and have coverage tomorrow and have full coverage. That's the issue. That's one of the issues.
Well, not really, everybody's
Well, but you hang around, the local comes around and buy your policy, well, for some coverage. Smoke yourself to death, or whatever it is, then you expect everybody else to hear. So,
Well,
that's the challenge that they have right now.
and I'll just be real honest with you on some stuff. The one thing I'm looking at in the future is probably prostate cancer. Now, my daddy had it, my granddaddy had it, my granddaddy died from it. I get blood work done every 6 months. I'm trying to prevent or jump on top of this. If it does, then it's going to be much cheaper to attend to it when it first starts. Because that's something that takes 8, 9, 10 years to end up, and that can be 100% curable, but you need to catch it at the start.
I'm sorry I got y'all off track.
But that's the reason I'm so strong in preventive and doing this.
Right.
Anything that helps, if this program starts, I think it'll be in there, but I think that's good to encourage people to do certain things, or go get this type of help or that help. I think that's wonderful. But at the same time, I also know when we started this program, we had lots of money. It just kept building up and up because we were relatively young at that time. And some of that, not some of it, a lot of that money was took and paid bills, which we should have stayed in the health fund.
So how do we deal with this? And I agree with everything you said. How does that help us make a decision here today?
I think we're in a positive this year. I don't, you know, some of these things I can look at and
What do you mean we're
say,
in a positive? Tell me what you mean.
well, we don't have a negative, are we gonna be negative this year?
Don't think so.
We're not going in the hole, though.
No, but we added in over $1 million. Well, I don't know how much we added. We had to take from general fund at the end of last year to add to it. So that's how we're doing it.
Well, that's a benefit that's paid to the employee. Is that correct? We pay every month?
Well, it sure is, yeah. But who paid for it?
Well, the county paid for it.
And the taxpayers. I mean, that is true, but if we continue at the pace we're going to continue, the percentage cost, the percentage of the budget that health insurance costs is going to continue to rise.
Right.
And it has been rising the last 3 years. How do we deal with that? Just let it keep going up, 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 up?
No, there's some adjustments you can make, but I don't think there's some things we can do, look at, go from there.
Which ones would you support?
Well, it's just something I'll have to look at better.
Well, we've got to make decisions today. Today's our decision-making day. Is there anything else, Tony, before we circle back around and start voting on these individually?
Anything else that was
That was your
on my
list.
Any suggested UMR recommendations to help us tweak some savings?
You're looking at going to the base plan to 70%?
No, hold on. No, now I'm going back. I'm just asking a general question. Before we start making dollar decisions on this, you know, we started off UMR recommendations, forcing mail order, premium PDL plan, real appeal program, COBRA administration, and now plan design. Is there anything besides that, or should we go to item 2, which is to start making some voted on decisions?
Kristen spoke on Friday, and basically she suggested changing to the PDL program for the drugs and administering real appeal would be the 2 most significant ways to save costs.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, you would have to make this about a $5,000 deductible to save significantly on your
Yeah.
claims costs. So this is not going to impact, this is an incremental change, just basically to
That's
start
right.
somewhere.
That's right. Chipping away at it year by year, trying to move forward, trying not to move backward or stay still. So I'm going, unless there's any other discussion or questions, I'm going to bring item 1, which is health insurance workshop, to a close, and then I'm going to move to item number 2, and we'll start voting on some of these proposed changes. Everybody okay with that?
Second that. Second that.
Okay, well, the first item was not any decision-making, so now we'll go to item 2, and we'll start doing some votes. So I'm going to suggest we circle back around to the suggestions that Tony started with, and that would be item number 1, where we talked about incentivizing employees to utilize mail order Optum RX for their maintenance drugs. And if they choose, we still give them the option of using local pharmacy and not utilizing mail order, but we design the costs of those drugs to be higher if they choose to buy locally, hoping to steer them to mail order. So that would be item number 1. And a suggestion that you had that would be to consider as incentivizing would be to do what to the cost of drugs that were bought
Easy
over the
to
counter.
To double it. It's a $5 copay on generic, make it 10, and they use the local.
Let's look at those right now. And here we are at the same cost for the base plan and the buy-up plan. One more example of there being no differentiation. Generic drugs, $5, brand names, $25, non-preferred, $50, and a specialty drug, $150. If you double the generic cost from 5 to 10, that's not much of an incentive, and that's going to be the one opportunity where I think you've got the most opportunity.
87% and went to generic is what we encourage them to do.
That's right. So I'm going to suggest that you would consider the cost of generics going from 5 to maybe 15. Brand name going from 25 to 50, non-preferred 50 to 100, specialty 150 to 300.
Specialty, was that?
You know, I don't know. I don't know.
You know, one of the things.
These are maintenance for one thing.
Yes.
I would imagine a specialty maintenance drug would be,
I thought they would be considered maintenance.
you know, we're talking about those exotic cancer treatments and things like this. What other are some
Just
other?
remember, you don't have anybody utilizing specialty
And
drugs.
they would change like.
It could.
And we're only talking about maintenance, so there would not be any impact to somebody that has, hey, we've got to treat you for 90 days on a high-dollar specialty drug. That's not a maintenance drug.
Yeah.
And even a non-preferred is probably not going to be a maintenance drug, or very rare.
You're saying like we'll take our kids to the doctor, all gets a little antibiotic, it's still $5 for the generic.
That's not maintenance.
Well, I'd leave the generic at 5 and make the incentive to if you bought it locally to 40, 45. I'd make a lot of difference. $10 is nothing. I don't think that'd give them much incentive. I don't think it.
Make a motion.
Yeah, we'd make it $40, $45 for if you buy it local, and $5 if you do it generic, mail order.
Well, what that would do would be to, if you incentivize it that way, and I'm not saying I disagree, but hear me out, I'm saying if you had a triple the cost, then that employee could buy 90 days mail order for as cheap or cheaper than going and buying 1 month locally. So that would be a strong incentive to me to buy mail order. And that's what I was trying to do with that $15, is go from 5 to 15, where the employee understands, well, if I go and buy 1 month locally, I'll pay $15, but if I use mail order, I can spend that same 15 and get 3 months.
You think that, well, if he had to pay 45, he probably would use mail, but if he had,
Remember, we're talking maintenance drugs, probably generic, $45 is going to be more than what the drug is.
okay.
Okay, so you're not going to package the bottom line by, I mean, basically what you're doing is exclude local generic drugs if you do that. And there's going to be some folks that need to run to the doctor and get their, and we're all talking maintenance too, so I don't know. I mean, I don't think you impact your bottom line by going from 5 to 45. You just make a bunch of folks mad, what you're going to do. So, I mean, I think Brian's suggestion is probably more reasonable. Okay, they can still go to the local pharmacy and get it. It's gonna cost them $15 rather than 5. There's some incentive there. I mean, the generic drugs are so inexpensive to start with that you get your copay up there, so how they might as well just go write a check for it, you know?
Wait a minute, when you say $15 at 30 days, why can't they get a prescription for 90 days
So
at the
if-
local guy?
Well, maybe they can, it's gonna cost them 3 copays, so if the same 90 days, the way Brian's talking about, is $45, or they can get 90 days mail order for $12.50.
Let me say something. I could swear that my maintenance drugs, I'm getting a 3-month for these costs right here.
Instead of, I think it's supposed to be 2.5 copays, isn't it right? 2.5 copays. 2.5 for the mail order, supposed to be. Save a little bit on the copay. So, you're thinking you're paying $15 for a 90 day?
I'll have to go back and look, but I'm always amazed at how cheap my 3 months is. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 2 nose sprays, a cholesterol, and a blood pressure. I hardly pay anything for these, and they're all generics, every one of them.
Yeah. 10 for 3 months, mail order, okay, so $10 for 3 months.
No, I take that back. It seems like I might have a non-preferred nasal spray that I pay $50, but I get a 90-day
The
supply.
preferred brand is $50 for a 3-month supply, mail order.
Say that again?
A preferred brand is $50 copay for a 3-month supply, mail order.
What's a preferred brand? Is that a brand name?
That's brand, yeah.
Is $50 for 3 months instead of 25 times 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're giving us some
Yeah.
savings when we pay that 3-month price.
Yeah, we were thinking it's 2.5 times, which you get, it's 2 copays for a 3-month supply.
Okay, 66%.
So there's incentive already built into the copays.
Okay. Well, those were my suggested numbers. 15 on the generic and then double the next 3 categories if you choose to buy over the counter. If somebody wants to make a motion different, I'm not making a motion. I'm just making a suggestion. I'm not going to make a motion.
I like that myself.
Put that in the form of a motion.
I will.
Commissioner Parker makes a motion that we make a change on our pharmacy plan to take the current $5, $25, $50, and $150 for the 4 categories, change generic to $15, double the other 3 if the employee chooses to purchase over the counter. Now, can maintenance drugs only. This gives the employee the option of doing business with their local pharmacist friend if they want to, but they'll pay more. Not going to break them, but they'll still pay more. And here we're not trying to punish anyone. We're just trying to get people signed up for Optum RX mail order. So I have a motion. Need a second if there's anybody that likes that enough to second it.
I second it.
Second is made by Commissioner Applewhite. All in favor of this change to the pharmacy plan, say aye.
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 I really don't want to vote on this. I think it's so outrageous what we do and worry about the employees.
Vote no?
Vote no? I'd as soon not to vote on any of this.
Well, I think you have to vote. You've got to take a position on this. If you've got a,
He can abstain. No.
okay, that passes. All right. Are we clear on that? Let's move on to item number 2, premium PDL plan. And if Tony needs to brief you on that one more time, opportunity to save $39,000, or was that the $41,000? $41,000 savings by going to the premium PDL.
41, in your administration costs, because your drug rebate goes up from $9 to drug didn't change. I mean, they stopped using that.
Any
drug.
negative impact to any county employee?
No, well, the only negative impact is that your employees that are taking that special drug, that, for instance, that new Lexus or whatever, instead of taking one, we have to go to the doctor, and the UMR handles
Two
that
swallows
process.
instead of one. Okay.
But no negative impact as far as their health goes.
Okay.
A little bit of a hassle involved, but when maybe they don't even understand, they probably don't understand.
And maybe their doctor doesn't understand it
May
either.
not, so.
All right. So there's a very, very minimal impact to employees to save us $40,000.
What, say that again, Judge.
By electing to be a part of the PDL plan, we get money saved for the county. And specifically, they gave you an example of that high-dollar Duexis drug that would be no longer allowed, but there would be options where that employee could get the same kind of health treatment with a different mix.
I don't have any problem with that as long as you have an option.
And
You don't have an option here.
Sheriff just looked at this list of the people utilizing these drugs, and 2 of them will not be on their plan as a 12-1. One's off now.
Okay.
One's off now.
But
so you're down to 12 people actually impacted by this change that will have another option. And again, they give them.
And we're taking away the option on a Duexis, for example. We're saying the county's not paying for Duexis. You either go with these 2 cheaper drugs or you buy it yourself.
Right. And again, the 60-day implementation time will give these people ample notice to change else in that same class.
But nobody will be untreated. They'll just have a different.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're going to save 41 grand in your admin, but you're also going to save
Ongoing costs of the medicine itself, 120 grand or more. All right, need a motion on that if you like that.
I make that motion.
Okay. Commissioner Parker makes the motion to be a part of the PDL plan related to high-cost drugs with cheaper alternatives.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Fields. All in favor of making that change, say aye.
I'll abstain,
I'm just curious why you're abstaining on that.
because you really want me to tell you? I can tell you that all we do, and everything you say, and you're saying the right things, that we need to make cuts and we have to do that. But this has been going on. I've been here, this is my 5th budget. We have raised the taxpayers' rates 40-something%. And yet we worry about minimal cuts or minimal charges and pay scales for our county employees. They haven't suffered at all, just the taxpayers. And there's not that many county employees. I realize in the past that usually county employees could win an election. But I think that the people are getting a little bit more, and I'm sure going to tell them all I can that we've increased our tax rate over 40%, and we've probably no cuts in spending. And we've increased the spending right along. And I think that I don't feel right. I don't
make a motion then.
I make a motion that we reduce the tax rate. Why should I make a motion?
That was at the last meeting. We're past that. We're in the new year. We're talking about health insurance.
No, I'm sorry. The health insurance. Why don't we, but we won't take many steps in yours.
You guys to make a motion. Throw a motion out there. Do you want to charge $2,000 a month for the employees' costs? Throw out a motion. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. Either vote yes or no, or come up with your own option.
No, I don't like it. I don't like the options that we have.
Make your own motion then. I'd like to hear what your option is. I make my decisions based upon listening to you.
I can't hardly believe that. other votes for many times. I'm the only one that votes about raising taxes and spending money. We've got money everywhere we could not spend, but we're not. So I'm not, insurance, I don't feel like there's anything. We should reduce benefits accordingly to what our citizens do. You just described what I've heard for 2 or 3 years about your conversations, the $600 a month, $1,800 a month. And Steve's brought it up. So we're talking about $5 or $25 for our county employees because of county employees. I don't believe that the county employees deserve to make so much more money than the regular citizens to do the same amount of work in this town, in this city, in this county. And I just get sick at my stomach, to tell you the truth.
Well, you'll have an ample opportunity here in item number 4 to make some big changes here with your motion. But we did just pass the PDL plan. Let's move on to the number 3, Real Appeal Program. That is the wellness program that's optional to the employees that they can sign up for and get counseling or whatever you might call it on any number of things, whether it be, I assume.
It's a weight loss program.
It's a weight loss. It's not smoking or.
It's not.
Okay.
It's basically targeted for people with BMI over 25 and or with those chronic conditions I mentioned, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, some of those other issues put together with obesity basically results into cost to the county over time if unchecked. So this is just an education program. It runs through the cost of the plan, but savings to the plan with their projections, and again, this is just pulling the numbers out of the sky because you can't make people participate, is $84.17 a year is what you will save, basically identifying people that are pre-diabetic, identifying people that have heart disease that are also obese, and helping them manage getting off prescription drugs, helping them just cope and just have a better lifestyle.
If you have somebody like me that doesn't have a health problem that I know of, could I be part of it?
You can teach the class.
Well, I could do that.
You're going to be.
Set you up for a blender after 6 weeks.
So here's something with it only costs the county a little bit if the employee signs up. Minimal fixed cost, about $1,000. If nobody participates, there's no out-of-pocket to the county. If you get 50 employees participating, you're going to pay a small amount, but hopefully you get some real benefits by working with 50 people to help them get, make some lifestyle changes that might result in benefits to them as well as savings to the county.
A lot of companies are going to this.
Okay, let's throw out a motion and get it done.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's made by Commissioner Fields to participate in real appeals.
Second.
Commissioner Applewhite seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Riddle, got a vote?
I don't want to
No,
vote.
doesn't want to vote. All right, that's 4 to 0 with 1 abstention. Item number 4. All right, here's the COBRA administration online benefits enrollment that will assist our auditor's office in relieving some of their administrative burden with minimal cost to the county.
Again, this wouldn't start until, we can start implementing it in February. We have to get through 4th quarter, but it really will help with the ACA administration next year for Christie. As you know, we're like a year behind. And even if ACA chooses to go away under some scenario, what she's reporting on is the past year.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
Explain that one more time.
Okay, we're going to give Christy and Sharon an online program so that they can add and delete people that goes through Higginbotham. In that system is also COBRA administration.
Okay.
Okay, instead of doing COBRA through United Healthcare, you'll do the COBRA admin through this online portal. But again, it cannot start until February because we've got to get through 4th quarter.
And the cost is less.
The COBRA cost Walmart's charging you $1.12 per head, ours is 70 cents per head.
Sharon, is that what we need?
Is that,
It's less cost. We go onto UMR portal right now, and
Okay.
it's somebody's termination day, and they send UMR the cover letters out. And they're saying they'll do it at 70 cents per employee.
Again, we can't do it until we get all the thing added on the actual enrollment portal. But once it's all together, when she goes in and you terminate somebody in that portal, it automatically sends it over. So it's just one effort instead of doing a couple.
Several.
Will that benefit you and Christie?
It could, I mean, now I have to wait if this will terminate and then go back into the cover program, so it's.
What do you-
Well, if it's not going to benefit you, I don't want to support it.
I don't see it taking any more time.
So right now, you have to go into UMR's portal and terminate them. Then you have to go somewhere else and terminate them.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna have to go back into them and do the cover at that point. I have to do two insurance.
this would not,
I mean,
But if you'll remember, the benefits at hand is what Christie was so
Well, it's
relieved that
It
you're
will go
going
with
to
the
do.
court, correct.
Yeah.
That's
and if you're going to do that, it makes sense to do the cover because it's cheaper.
There's no reason for you not to do that.
I mean, we don't get paid on it. I mean, it's just a service we offer, but it's less than what UMR's charging. So if you're interested in saving money, it does save you some money.
I'll make that motion, we just do the cheaper.
Motion is made by Commissioner Applewhite to be part of this online benefits enrollment that'll begin in February of 18.
second.
Second by Commissioner Parker. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed? All right. And I guess that brings us now to the biggie, and that's where we start putting some votes on these plan changes, whether we're going to have single option, dual option, and what changes, if any, to specific dollar amounts or benefits. So, Commissioner Riddle, this is your opportunity to throw out an option here for us to consider to save us money.
I don't see what difference it would make.
Give it a try. I think it's important that people know where you stand. I'd like to know.
We've been nitpicking pennies and dimes for 4 or 5 years, and we don't cut anything, and we don't make any changes. And you said it a while ago, we need to start. We should have started back then, and we needed. Other people, other counties have, other cities, a lot of people have, but we haven't done anything. So now you want a motion for all of it to get down to what they've done, some of those, and our people are $600 a month or whatever it is, something of that nature. I'm not.
No, I just want you to participate in the discussion and take a stand that perhaps others would agree with and support, and maybe talk to us. I mean, without expression and opinion, you're sure not going to get any changes made. But by beginning the discussion, I believe, is how you get changes made.
You're very right, but I don't really feel that anybody's interested in my discussions. But when we increase spending every year, I can sit here in my mind just nearly think of 100 things where we've just thrown money away, just wasted it. And all of a sudden, then I don't know what to do other than that. I don't want to. I'm not prepared to give you a statement of how much money we should cut the insurance, how much we should reduce the benefits for insurance.
Right.
I'm not in a position to make those statements.
Good, safe position. All right. Anybody want to talk about, let's start off with a single option, dual option plan. Maybe begin with a vote there, and then we can fill in the blanks as we move forward in our discussion. So I would entertain a motion for a single option versus a dual option plan.
Well, I'm still probably confused on this a little bit, but your 2018 rates and plans, single option.
We hadn't filled in the rates yet. We're just talking about a dual versus single. So by voting one way or another, you're not committing on any of these dollar amounts, whether it's deductible, out-of-pocket, co-insurance, drugs, well, we've done drugs, et cetera. You're just talking about, I want to design a framework that begins with a dual option plan or a single option plan.
Well, I just come right down to it. I like the dual option.
You want to make a motion?
No, I'm still looking at it. I'm still trying to figure out what's be the best option.
Jimmy, Dana, either of you comfortable enough to begin with that, or if not, we'll back up and we'll keep talking about it.
I make a motion that we go with the dual option.
Okay, motion's made by Commissioner Parker for a dual option plan for 2018.
Second it.
Second by Commissioner Applewhite. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. That passes. So now let's start with let's just, I guess, break it down one at a time, and if there's anything that in the end you wish you had done different, we can come back and override it. Let's start with annual deductibles on a dual option plan. So we'll start with just the individual. As you can see right now, we're on our base plan, we're at $1,000 deductible and an $850 on the buy-up plan. Higginbotham has suggested a $1,250 individual on the base plan. That goes from $1,000 up to $1,250, and then the buy-up plan remaining the same at $850. Sir?
No.
Well, we can do it any way we want. I'm just looking at what numbers are here in the chart. Where are you looking, Sheriff?
Okay.
On the dual side is what, I think you might be looking at.
I'm sorry, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, your far left box is 2017. Your far right box is 2018. Those are the suggested numbers pre-filled out by Tony, but you can change them. If you don't like these, throw out some different numbers.
Sheriff, what do you think the employees on that 1,250 on the single plan?
Well,
I mean, the new base plan.
I mean, I agree with what the judge said, we're gonna have to chip away at it, so we're gonna have to go up a little bit. And still my deal is to go up and it's not gonna affect many people. I think you can go up to 1,500 on it. It wouldn't affect many people because not many people meet their deductible. But, I mean, yeah, 1,250 is, I mean, that's not gonna kill anybody. They help the county save some money.
Historically.
And y'all, the family is just 3 times the individual, so there's no magic way.
Let me see what the judge, while he's out there and overhead, is there a magic number that the county's looking at on what would be a good and fair deal for the insurance costs? Is there a percentage we're looking at that?
No,
Not really.
because this small little $250 increase is just a teeny tiny effect.
But I mean, overall, we're looking at the numbers, like ourselves, okay, is this where we need to be? There's a percentage wise, there's just where we need to be, not what we're doing today. I mean, just in general, is there a number that we're looking at that we're saying, okay, to be fair to taxpayers and to be fair to the county, try to find a happy medium? I mean, is there a percentage that you're looking at where we need to get, a goal that we need to hit?
Talk about, he said the average was 28%, right? 28% increase people had the last year in insurance premiums. So that's what our citizens have had, except the county employees. So you can't take a 28% now, or you couldn't, you wouldn't, it'd be hard to break it down. You'd have to take the total cost and reduce it by 28%.
He's talking specifically premium. You're talking benefits, you know. I think what the courts want to do is just make some incremental steps, so at some point down the future, they'll have to go
I mean, you know, the state attended at the sheriff's office, I mean, of course, the better than you have, the better, but, I mean, I realize too, that if costs are going up, we're gonna have to make some sacrifices, I realize that. So, I mean,
You want to repeat what you said, because Judge Lee was out of the office about the deductible.
yeah, well, I mean, is there a magic number, I mean, not just deductible overall, that what we're spending,
No, you said that you thought that even if you raised that individual deductible to $1,500, that would not be a significant impact to most of your people.
yeah, I just would like to see that people just keep the raise this year, you have to do the insurance.
Leave the
Unless they use
premium,
it.
adjust the benefits, leave the premium on.
Right, because that way, I mean, the ones that use it are the ones that pay the payment for it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, so I don't think I hired it up, so.
And honestly, I've looked at 1250s, I think they'll go higher than that.
You're saying that we're basically going with the dual option, right? That's what we
Voted on that.
Okay. In that work, deductible, $1,250, I can live with that. Then the $3,000, $850, $1,500, I'm okay with that. We have a motion?
In other words, you're okay with the way she's presented it here?
That's right.
Just to review that, we go from our current year base plan $1,000 deductible to a 2018 $1,250 deductible. That's in the plan that costs the employee only nothing. And then the buy-up plan would remain at $850. And then the out-of-network on the base plan would stay at, would go to $3,000, and the out-of-network family would go to, for individual would go to $1,500. Then we've got to look at the family out-of-pocket deductible.
And again, all that is just 3 times. your
Yeah, 3
individual.
times. So there's an increase there of $3,000 to $3,750 for family deductible in the base plan, and the other figures stayed the same on the buy-up plan.
Right.
Okay, so Commissioner Fields has made a motion to go with the figures as presented under the annual deductible row. I'll second that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. That gives us 4 with 1 abstention. Then we'll go to annual maximum out-of-pocket Maybe if you just black out that center column, that single option, so we don't get confused.
Yeah, and there's no changes on that for your card.
So you'll see there's nowhere within that entire box under annual maximum out of pocket is there a change. Stays identical from 2017 to 18, whether it's base or buy-up plan.
Make that motion.
Okay, Commissioner Fields makes that motion that we maintain the same annual maximum out-of-pocket figures. I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's 4-0 with one abstention. Okay, next line is co-insurance. And just as a review, co-insurance is after you've met the deductible, it's the percentage of the costs that you the employee bears and versus what the county bears. And the figure that is suggested here in yellow under the base plan would be a reduction in benefits to employees, meaning they would bear 30% of the cost up from 20% of the cost. The county would go from 80 down to 70. This would only affect those that exceeded their deductible. If you don't hit your deductible, this doesn't impact you, and therefore, theoretically, it impacts only a small percentage of employees. And then the 60% out-of-network remains the same, and the buy-up plan, 80-20 remains the same, 60-40 out-of-network remains the same.
I'd like to see that 70 go to 75.
Okay?
Make that motion.
Commissioner Fields makes a motion that co-insurance goes from 80 currently to 75 for an individual in the base plan. If there's no second, somebody wants to suggest an alternative, here's your chance.
Make a motion, we go with what's.
Okay, so you're not seconding the motion, you're making an alternative motion?
Yes, sir.
Here, okay. Commissioner Fields' motion dies for lack of a second. Commissioner Parker makes a motion to keep these figures as presented, which means the only change is base plan individual goes 80% down to 70. Commissioner Fields seconds that. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Abstain.
Is that a nay?
No, abstain, I said, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
we've got 4-0, one abstention. Okay, office visit. Here's a change. Current base plan is $25 office visit copay and a $25 copay on the buy-up plan. So they're currently the same. We're proposing the new base plan goes up by $20 each time you go to an office visit and make a copay, but no change if you choose to do the buy-up plan. And the out-of-network,
Yeah, remember that should be 60.
the current base plan is 50% after deductible. So that means the,
It should be 60.
on both current year and new year?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not-
Okay, both of them. So there'd be no change there. And then the buy-up plan remains at $25 and the out-of-network 60% after deductible. So the only change on that entire office visit is that someone on the base plan would pay $45 in 2018 rather than $25 in 2017. And more than likely, this is going to be one that affects a good number of employees, because surely at some point they'll go see a doctor and they'll make a $45 payment instead of $25.
That's too bad.
Okay, you want to suggest an alternative, or? Or anyone else can make a motion?
Go with the $30.
Want to raise it $5? Okay, the motion is to go from the current $25 copay in the base plan up to $30. That's the motion. Need a second if you're supportive of that.
Seconded.
Second's made by Commissioner Applewhite. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is a no. Abstention is 1. Okay, so that changes the copay, goes to $30 on the base plan. All right, Teladoc is currently free for those on the base plan and $40 for someone on the buy-up plan. And the proposal presented here remains identical, but we had discussion about let's make Teladoc free for all and hopefully increase usage of Teladoc so that people can experience the benefits, and hopefully the county receives some benefit in lower costs at the doctor's office.
Make that motion.
What's your motion?
0.
0 cost for Teladoc for all categories? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
0 cost. Okay, the motion is no cost for Teladoc regardless of what plan you opt for. I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay. 4-0 with 1 abstain. Urgent care. Looks like these in this table stay completely the same. If there's any motion to make a change, let me hear you. If not, I'll just keep going. Okay, moving on to emergency care. No changes are proposed in this table, but if you see a opportunity there and want to make a change.
We just did this last year where you pay I think we just need to leave it alone. Is it being abused any?
Well, one thing, I didn't miss this when I was doing this, if you're going to change your co-insurance to 70, you should probably change that to 70 as well to match it after the $200.
Okay, do you understand that? We voted to change the co-insurance from 80 down to 70. It would certainly make sense to change your emergency care copay from 80 down to 70.
Well, just on the base, yeah. I mean, that's what.
Just on the base,
Makes
right.
sense.
To match your co-insurance for non-emergency care.
Make that motion.
Motion's made by Commissioner Parker to make one change to emergency care, and that would be after the $200 copay, that the deductible, after the deductible is met, that the county bears 70%, the employee go from 20% up to 30%, which matches our other co-insurance. I'll second that. All in favor, say aye. Is that a aye? Nate, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
abstain.
Where do we change that at, Judge?
Back up here, that's the one he wanted to go to 75%. The vote ended up being 70%. Would be awkward to keep that at 70 and that at 80. This should match this.
That's non-true emergencies, right?
That'd be non-true. Another, if somebody goes to and uses the emergency room and it's later determined that you shouldn't have done that, this isn't a true emergency.
Okay.
Support that. Okay, that's 4 is 4 votes, 0 nays, and 1 abstain. All right, here's probably the biggie. Here's where we're going to talk about rates. What are we going to charge for these changes that we have made here?
Well, the $5 generic looked like to me a good deal.
Well, we've already voted on prescription drugs, so we're going to be in the last 2 blocks: employee and employee semi-monthly payroll deduction. Let's break it down this way. I'm assuming everybody wants to maintain a 0 cost for an employee only. Is that a fair statement? If there's anybody that wants to change that, say something now. Otherwise, I'm going to assume we're keeping it the same. Tony, why is there a difference in, oh, no, never mind, I understand. Because the monthly premium wouldn't be twice what the payroll deduction is, because we have not exactly 2 paychecks per month.
I thought you had 26 pay periods, and apparently it's
awkward.
We have 26.
The 26 pay periods, but twice a year, you have 3 pay periods, and those 2 months, that 3rd pay period is not have deduction.
So just look at the per paycheck deduct, but actually it's exactly the same as what your current basic buyout, other than the employee only on the buyout plan. But it's really the only change.
What were your thoughts behind making no changes there? You felt like we could impact what we were trying to do with those other changes?
Yeah, I thought you could keep your base plan the same rate, but lessen the benefits some, and then you're already pretty substantially changing the rates on the buyout.
But let me remind everyone, if you'll pull out that chart, what we agreed to 3 years ago was some changes in 2018.
But you've already surpassed those changes.
Under the buyout plan.
Yeah, you were at $525 a month.
Back then, we didn't have a buyout plan. We had one plan. Could you go over the cost of the categories for spouse, children, and family?
Yeah, the employee children cost was $300.
Okay, we're
And I'm assuming
there.
that's per month.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where this table reflects.
And the employee spouse rate was $375.
Okay, so we would need to tweak that a bit. 375 divided by 2, right?
No, I thought this was your monthly rate. 375 was your monthly rate.
That's right, and that 175 per paycheck doesn't achieve that. So
But my monthly rates are 379. So 175 times 2 is.
But let's go to the semi-monthly, because Sharon's just explained to us how that's going to work.
This is considered bi-weekly on 24.
Okay, so your employed children would be 300. What's 175 times 2? 350. So you're at 350.
Whoa. What are you discussing?
Okay. Your rates are 150 per check for children, employed children.
And that's what we got on this table here, which matches our chart from years ago, right?
You actually were at 300, so that is completely matching.
Okay.
Yeah. The employee spouse rate at 175 comes up to 350.
Which is
So in the
25
chart
short.
was 375.
So that needs to go to 187.5, $187.50.
And the base rate was 525, and this is 400, so. And again, I was kind of splitting the difference between those two plans and where you are.
And I understand your logic, but I'm saying this was a decision that the court made 3 years ago that I think we should honor, but somebody that chooses to deviate from that and votes differently, we can.
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Instead of the 200, it'd be 260, 250.
Yes.
But this here's gone now. We're comparing this to this.
Right now, we're just on the base plan. But 3 years ago,
Yeah, I
we
know.
voted that in 2018, we would move up the employee plus children, employee plus spouse, and total full family coverage up. And I'm suggesting we stick by that, which would result in these per paycheck costs going from, in those 4 categories, employee only 0, employee plus children 150, employee plus spouse $187.50, and employee plus family, there's the bigger, the biggie. Went from 200 to 262.50, so a $62.50 increase per paycheck. Y'all see all that? Before your time, 3 years ago, we set our targets on 3 years worth of increases. And so,
That's for that.
if we were to stick by what we voted on 3 years ago, those figures would do that.
105, well, this one.
187.
Big change there's gonna be on that employee plus family person. Covers that
260,
entire family.
250.
We see $62
That would be the
more come out of their
family.
check, or $125 a month more cost. So that is a significant change. You see those?
Yeah, yeah.
Do we know how many employee plus family coverage we have?
I was gonna say 18, but she's got 15.
So 15 employees would have the significant increase of $125 more cost per month to them for family coverage. If you were to make that change to employee and family, that would be the only category where there's a significant cost increase. Employee plus spouse goes up $12.50 per paycheck. Employee plus children, no change. And employee plus family goes up $62.50 per paycheck. So if you don't like that, suggest something else, or
What's
make a
that?
motion to do this,
You're looking at going up on the new basic plan, 180,750, and the 260, 250, and everything else stay the same. Is that correct?
correct. Or anything else that you want to do? No motions have been made.
And this is twice a month that this is paid.
Yes.
And I think there's 2 months out of the year that we get 3 checks, and that will not be deducted from that, so that's, okay. I make that motion.
Commissioner Fields makes a motion that the new base plan costs $0 to the employee only, $150 for employee plus children, which is no change. Employee plus spouse is $187.50 per paycheck, up from $175. And then employee plus family on the base plan goes up from $200 to $262.50 per paycheck. That's the motion. I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Nays? Okay, and one abstain. Let's look at the buy-up plan. Tony's proposed figures there right next to that. Is that enough differential between the base and the buy-up plan? If you're okay with that, vote for it as presented. If you feel like you need to have a more or less differential, you can change that.
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
Okay. We're talking now about the buy-up plans. The last thing we're discussing. If somebody chooses to go with the buy-up, more expensive plan, as Tony has presented it here, she has not shown you any cost increases going into the new year. If you're going to raise the rates in the base plan, I think you should have a slight increase in the buy-up plan under those categories. And the buy-up plan right now is only $25 per paycheck for an employee. No, I mean, right now it's $0. She's proposing going to $25
For the employee?
for employee. I think that needs to be more myself. I think it should be $50 for employee only.
The employee pays the $50.
If they opt for the buy-up plan. In other words, we're trying to incentivize making an easy decision. Am I okay with the base plan, or do I feel like I've got to have that better plan with the lower deductibles and lower co-pays? I think that there needs to be a stronger differential between the base plan and the buy-up plan. I'm going to suggest $50 per paycheck, employee only, $300 employee plus children.
Hey, Brad.
Sir.
There's something right there.
Yes, sir.
$250 per paycheck for child or children is, I probably wouldn't increase that.
Okay.
To be, because that's not where you're claiming coming from.
Okay.
$500 that you're.
Thank you.
3 or 4 kids, I probably would not say that.
Based on what you're telling me, I'll suggest we leave that at $250. Employee plus spouse. $350? Say that again?
The difference in the premium from the one plan to the other has been 200 per paycheck.
Between the base and the buyout, the old base.
I'm showing 100 per paycheck.
Well, yes, I'm sorry, 200 not. 200 not difference.
No. We're looking at this employee plus spouse coverage. We're talking about $187.50 for somebody on the base plan. How high should that buy-up plan be for somebody that wants to cover themselves and their spouse? I think that should go to $350, which is $75 a paycheck or $150 a month.
If you're doubling your other rate or leaving $100 difference,
$287.50 for the.
that would make your monthly rate on employee spouse be $575 if you kept the $100 differential.
Still way cheap.
It is. It is still way cheaper.
And then employee plus family, I would say go to 400, which would be the same weekly increase as an employee plus spouse, $75 that I'm suggesting.
So we're saying 50, 250, 350, and 400.
We're not, I'm saying
Well,
that.
I bet that's what you're
Oh, that's what
suggesting.
I'm saying. Here's my justification. You're doubling the employee only. Somebody that is that's still somebody that thinks they're going to benefit a little bit from that buy-up plan. It's going to cost them currently currently zero. Under my proposal, it costs them $50 per paycheck or $100 a month. And we know that 2/3 of our employees are employee only. So are they going to perceive that that's worth it to spend $100 a month to be on the better plan? And then employee plus children, Steve has suggested leave it the same because we know that children is not where our burden is. Employee plus spouse, we do know that to be an area of concern, so I'm suggesting $75 more a week or $150 more a month increase from this year. And then that same $75 a week or per paycheck and $150 a month for somebody that's covering employee plus family. Sheriff, you got any comments?
No, Mayor, we're still gonna keep the, where we can get the, free checkups once a year, and, also the, colonoscopy once every 10 years.
We hadn't had any discussion on that.
Okay.
Yeah. We haven't talked about making changes to the plan details. We're not proposing any. Anybody want to leave it just the same as it is this year? If so, make a motion. If you want to change any individual categories, make a motion. If you want to go with my suggestion, make a motion. If you want to raise it even higher, make a motion.
Make a motion to leave it the same.
Make a motion that we leave it the same. And my only caution is that by raising the base plan rates and squeezing it up closer to the Cadillac, you're going to encourage people to go to the Cadillac plan because you haven't incentivized them away from it. So that's why I can't support your motion there.
Okay.
But that is the motion. Need a second for that to go further. Once, twice,
My only deal is we've changed some other things. I think just need to,
3 times, dies for lack of second.
Yeah.
So your dependent rates that you're determining on fire plans don't affect anybody because nobody's on it.
Say that again.
So,
Current.
We don't have anybody on the buy-up that has dependents.
It's all employees.
So what we did last year was adequate, but now that you're charging them more for the base plan, you may have somebody go,
$12.50.
I think I may like that Cadillac plan. That's all it's going to cost me.
I mean, your suggestion, Brad, probably gives enough steerage, even though if you look at the difference between your employee spouse at 350 and your employee family at 400, that's not much of a gap there. That's what you were suggesting.
Why do you say that?
Because you're already charging $250 for the kid, but now you're only going to add $50 more to add them to a family. So it's getting that.
No, I don't.
All right, so for employee spouse, you were suggesting $350 rather than $275, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and for employee family, you were suggesting $400, right?
Yes.
So it's only $50 more.
No, 75 more.
No, no,
325 to 400.
Yeah, but it's only $50 difference between employee spouse and employee family.
Well, we've already decided that we didn't want to increase the cost of employee plus kids only.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm doing here, is I'm making no cost increase for employee plus family other than the spousal component.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, so my point is that if you look at most traditionally, price plans, okay, your employee family would be almost the child rate plus the spouse rate added to the employee, okay? So it's probably not going to make one bit of difference because
And I
we
agree
didn't
with
have
you.
enough difference there last year. So
I agree with you completely, but the fact that we decided on, let's don't change rates for kids because they're not where the cost is, I'm basically giving them a free ride on the kid component of a family coverage.
Yeah.
That
They're
was
charging
my-
$50 for the kids there, so. As opposed to.
What do you say? Say that again. I didn't
Okay,
quite.
so, all right, so if you just have kids, it's $250 a paycheck, right?
Right.
So you add a spouse, or just spouse only, you're saying $350, all right? So if you want to add spouse and kids, normally, it would be that child rate plus the spouse rate.
Well, throw out a suggestion.
600.
Yeah, I'm not saying conditions do that, I'm just saying there's not enough differential between the employee spouse and employee family rate. They have another,
You're saying
make it
600.
500 or something like
You're
that.
saying 600.
It's not gonna matter probably anyway, they're all, anybody,
Employee
is gonna get on the
and
baseline. Do
You're
I?
saying employee and family.
Yeah,
Is that
ordinarily,
per pay period or is that twice a month?
that's twice a month. Well, per pay period, whatever, so.
Your biggest issue with this column is your employee only.
Yeah, I mean.
True.
Yeah.
True.
There's no dependence on the buyout plan anyway, so anyhow.
For the buyout plan, the employee only is gonna cost them $100 more a month. You think that's a little bit on the low side?
No,
Right.
that's fine.
Yeah, that's about right. So, but anyway. You know, the buy for the family, you call it 500, like I say, it's not gonna matter anyway, because nobody's gonna draw to buy a plan anyway, but still, that makes us do 500, that's $1,000. You know,
But in your suggestion, you're putting a penalty for
Yeah.
adding those kids.
yeah, maybe instead of, you know, maybe, actually what may be is your spouse rate may be a
touch high or low?
Yeah, well, at 350, because your base plan, we're at 187.50, right? So I'm thinking your buy for your spouse ought to be more like, today. If you want $100 difference between the base and five, then it'd be, you know, 287.50. And then that makes your family rate look like it's a little bit more in line, you know. So it's $700 for a spouse, might be a little on the steep side.
I still like my number, but that's just me. Y'all vote it any way you want to vote it. We have no motion on the floor right now.
Make a motion, 0 for the employee, 250 for the employee children, 275 for the employee spouse, 375 for the employee family.
I can't support that because there's no difference for the bulk of our employees to go to a buyout plan. We're doing the same thing we did a year ago. You're steering all these employee-onlys to a buyout plan. Can't support that. You're charging them nothing to be on the better of the two plans. But nonetheless, I have a motion on the floor.
Say that again, Judge, I'm not sure I understood you.
You're suggesting with your motion on the buyout plan, a zero cost to the employee. Did I hear you right or did I?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The problem I have with that, just like I had a problem with it a year ago, and just like Tony started the conversation this morning, you've got two plans that are so close that you're going to cause employee-only coverage people, which is 2/3 of our employees. I'll take that buyout plan. It doesn't cost me a dime, and I'll get all those better attributes: lower deductible, lower copay, lower out-of-pocket. Why wouldn't they? Well, that's the majority of our employees. So I want to try to incentivize some of them to stay with a plan that benefits the county and still gives them really good coverage. And for only $100 a month, that employee that feels they need the benefits of the buyout plan, I would think would be happy to pay $100 a month. But if we pass that proposal, you're going to have that same group of employee-only employees say, keep me on the on the buyout plan. And I think that's why your motion didn't pass the last time. I may be wrong. That's why it didn't. That's why I didn't support it. Commissioner Fields is trying over here. Anybody else want to suggest something else?
Steve, you're saying on the employee and the family, how much you say you think we ought to go up to it?
Well, actually, what he suggested 400, I think that's fine, but I was saying that your spouse rate might be a little high, maybe instead of 350, maybe at 287.50, which would be $100 more than the base plan.
And you're saying that your family would go up to how much? 400?
400.
You think that's a good number?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think it's it's a little more equitable, you know, for the spouse. So it'd be 50, 250, 280, 750, and 400.
I make a motion that we go with the 50, 250, 280, 750, and 400.
I second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Parker, a second by Commissioner Applewhite. And Mike, you want me to run down those again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is the motion that has a second. $50, this is the buy-up plan. It costs the employee $50 per paycheck. Employee who wants to cover his children would cost him $250 per paycheck. If he wanted to cover his spouse instead of children, it would cost him $287.50. And if he wanted to cover spouse and children, it would cost him $400 per paycheck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No. You're in the swing vote here.
Oh.
Okay. All right. Let's try it again. I'm gonna throw out my number here, 50, 250, 300 and 400. It's down from what I wanted at 350, a check for a spouse. 50, 250, 300, and 400. Once,
So you're just,
Twice.
you see you made the motion.
all I did to yours was went from 287.50
What?
to 300 on the employee plus spouse.
What, $12?
Yeah, $25 a month.
So that, and it's 50, this 250, 300, and 400.
Yes, sir.
I second it.
Got a second by Commissioner Applewhite. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
No.
No. Okay, we've got a 3-1 with one abstention.
We go over there one more time. Just do what we voted on. I got a lot of scratching out.
Stick with me, Tony. Stick with me. Come on.
So 50 on the employee.
Okay, here we're on buy-up plan. The amount per paycheck that comes out is $50 for the employee only. If he chooses by himself to have the better coverage, $50 a paycheck. If he says, I want to cover my family, my children, my children on top of myself, $250 per paycheck, which is exactly the same as it is right now. If he wants to cover his spouse, we're going from the current 2017 figure of $275, we're going up $25 a paycheck.
300.
You said 300.
It'd be 300.
Well,
Be
from
300,
275 that's in effect right now, up to 300 in 2018. And then the final category of employee plus family at 400 per paycheck. But again, probably nobody will go for this. They're not right now. You see anybody screaming? I'd like to hear.
I think most people in my place will be the full based on
Which is what most of them are on right now. You've got a handful, maybe, of buy-up plan people.
Let me ask you this question. Let's say we have some people, not just with us, let's say, Rover or anything work. If, let's say that their spouse works at the school district or Rich Aid or anything, and I think theirs is like in September when they change over, but ours will be what, first of January 1?
That's correct.
Okay, and what if they want to opt out and pull their spouse off of this?
They can do it in open enrollment. The issue may be this going on to the other.
Is there not a law?
No, not for just a voluntary termination. No, it would be for a qualified bid. So that, everything like that, you know.
So now what if next year, what if, let's say what if they did, we could leave the full off this, it would come out of our paycheck, if they did, and when it does, right? Then we wouldn't have to finish paying out for the rest of the year, but not even go.
That's correct. If they terminate your goal, another group that, right? Yeah. Well, they don't get off, but they can terminate the group anytime. The question is, when do they get on?
Yeah, if they could get on November 1, we wouldn't pull anything out of their check for November and December.
Okay, so some suit that terminate here, then our money would come out here.
That's correct.
Because there might be some employees that actually do that, because they have a spouse and gets a job, somewhere, and you want to go off from there, so.
Can you think of anything else we ought to make a decision on today?
I have a dental appointment on you once.
Make a motion? We allow Tony to go?
Hopefully, maybe this week we'll get firm numbers on the rest of the stop loss and everything.
Well, seriously, do you think we've made a lot of decisions here today?
I thought you would do,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean, I was being very conservative in my recommendations, and honestly, you've done better than I thought you did. You did really well. I think the pharmacy change is going to be a huge change, and probably your biggest asset to the plan's cost. And if anyone, I still think even with these increased rates, that most people look at shopping between their own coverages, might find that these are still pretty competitive. I've got to lose too many people to
Well,
it.
wait, this kind of change, is this going to help the county? Some do you think maybe
Yeah.
gain next year, not in the negative, so like, what we
Well, I
say?
think any change you make is.
Well, you said, so it won't be so drastic. What have you heard here today that you're kind of going, oh man, I hate to bear this bad news to my employees?
I understand, if it's costing the county more and more, I have to understand we're going to have to make some tough decisions to go up. I was hoping we could, go up on the deductible side and make a difference, and not have to go up on the monthly payroll for the family, but I mean, it's just what it is, I mean, we got to do it, we got to do it. But I mean, like, in the future, having even double or triple that, I mean, well, is this going to be some changes we can make that will help keep us competitive in this to get employees here?
I guess my answer would be time will tell. If the changes that we make will incentivize people to behave differently to where it saves the county some money, that's my objective, is that we be able to continue to give good health insurance. But again, it's got to be good for both parties. I don't know. I still think this is very exceptionally good insurance.
I agree, but I mean, I was wondering with this, we're making enough changes this time that we might see a difference for the county, as far as.
You're going to see some significant difference in what we've done with prescription drugs part of the deal. The additional contribution to see everybody stays on will make a difference. We're talking to a lot of people, we have some injuries there, so, but yeah, I mean, everything you do has incremental help,
I know the judge said that you have to pull some money out and put it into it to make it work this time. I mean, so what I'm wondering is this going to be some good change to where maybe we will have to pull anything
Yeah,
out?
the biggest deal, Sheriff, is if we can avoid the big hits, because it's not the little stuff really that's causing us a whole lot of trouble. It's those we just have 3 pretty big ones all in 1 year. Every one of them, you're out of that right there, you're talking $210,000.
Yeah.
But it's not in deductibles on just those 3 claims, so, so anyway.
Let me explain what I meant, just to be sure you have a clear understanding. The amount of money that you see, for example, on your personal budget, that your budget is charged for health insurance, I believe is $850, Sharon, is that right? All that means is Carl is charging every department, every employee, that $850 that's going into a pot. Now, whether they spend more than that or less than that, he takes $850 for each position and puts it into that bowl. And if whatever that figure is, there's money left at the end of the year, we don't have to contribute more to it at the end of the year. But if we overspend that bowl of money, then Carl says, well, we've run out, I've got to replenish it. So he goes to general fund and takes whatever it is, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, whatever it is, to replenish it. And so if we look at that 850, oh, well, we've kept that 850 every year. Well, that's true, but if we're having to supplement it by taking a chunk out of general fund, then that 850 is not keeping up with the expense. It should be more like 900 or 950 or even $1,000.
Where do you think, and I guess it would be each individual commissioner, that's what I asked her, do we have that magic number where is 850 what would be good to spend, what would be fair for the taxpayer and the employee? I mean, is there a magic number there that we're looking at to get it down to where?
It all comes back, do you have major